Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great day today. I know it's crazy around the world, and shit's crazy in Canada, shit's crazy in our country. Russia's on the rampage. God knows what's coming next. It's been an interesting set so far. I mean, watching what's been going around in the world, just everyday BS. And then you throw all the other stuff on top of it. People are tired of COVID. Even the CDC is getting tired of COVID. It's a shame that we have to go all through all of this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the truckers. I have friends that are in the trucking industry. I have friends that are way up in the trucking industry as well. And I often wonder how this all reflects on them and how this is going to hurt them long term. Some of these guys make big money for logistics and moving stuff around the country. Some of them are just truckers making big money for, working all the time. So when you stop to protest or stop to run around DC, and all of a sudden, here you are, you're in DC, you got it rocking and rolling. You think you're going to get some stuff going. You're going to get the government to give you your way. And Canada, basically just declared what do you call it? I guess it would be a national emergency like they do up here. Hey, it's Jay. How you doing, Jay?
Hey,
Uh,
hey, Joe.
Jay looks scary tonight, man. He's got a scary look to him. Oh, wait, might
Got the
actually
full
put
beard
the
going
piece in.
in.
Jesus, Pete. I'm sorry, people. But anyway, guys, we were talking about the truckers, and we're going to get to. I know a lot of people have been writing to me about what's going on with the war and all, but we're really going to talk a little bit about the truckers first. I got a lot of friends in Canada. We got radio show hosts in Canada. I think 6, 7 of our hosts are Canadian hosts, and they're up there. And these truckers are wanting something. I mean, got to give them something. Instead, they're met with a cold hand and a harsh heart, and pushed out and pushed away, and they're still not giving up. And now you get the crazy Americans down here doing the same thing, surrounding DC. But it's funny now. I haven't heard hardly any stories about it today. Hardly any. And you'd think it'd be because of the war, but you know what? There's not as much about the war as you'd think you would hear right now. So it's kind of weird news cycles going through. It really seems like they're not sure what to talk about because lately CNN, CBS, and all them, every time they open their mouths, they seem to get in trouble for something. Uh, and it's weird since it's a liberal government. Usually that doesn't happen to liberal organizations like those kind of TV organizations when there's a liberal government in charge. But right now, it's not fair well for the liberals for some reason or another. It's kind of strange. And before anybody writes to me, no, I'm not a conservative, so don't even bother writing to me and ask me, oh, you're a conservative. You know, over the years, and I've been around on the planet for a few years now, I've been asked, what political view are you, or what religious view are you? First off, I don't personally think it's anybody's business but my own. But if sometimes I'll tell you, and sometimes I'll tell you to flip off or something. It just depends what kind of mood I'm in. But really, I'm a centralist. I'm truly, that's where I am. I'm in the middle. I'm not really conservative because I like a lot of things a conservative does, but then I'm like, oh my God, you got to be shitting me sometimes when they open their mouths. And I look over the liberals, and there's some things I like about the liberals, and then, oh my God, I'm the same way. I hear AOC start yapping at her jaws, and I'm like, thank God I left the party. It's just there just doesn't seem to be any middle ground, and that's where everybody should be. We really should focus on some kind of middleist party, centralist party. Independent doesn't work because for some reason it just doesn't garner people together. But I think a centralist party could do it, and you could make it to where the centralist party was the big party, and the other two were just feeder parties, which would mean anytime they needed to get something done, the centralists would never have enough votes on their own, but they'd have to get one of the two parties to vote. That way, it would be truly more about the American public than I want to stay in office. And I'm all for, by the way, if anybody says anything, I'm all for restrictions on how long you can serve. I think 12 years maximum, whether you're a senator or a House member. I think 12 years maximum. Sorry, I got dingies all over the place for some reason. Uh, they just
But,
said,
but
but
not
12
only
years is enough. The
not only
House and the
that, but
Senate,
Joe, there should be an age limit too. Age minimum and an age limit. We got age minimums for almost every office, but there's no upper end limit. So you could be 95 years old, run for president, and get it, and then go senile 2 years in and blow up the planet. So there should
well,
be a cutoff as
well,
far
we
as
know
age
we
goes.
know from Ronald Reagan his last 2 years were not it's probably his best,
You
and
know,
we know from the guy who's serving right now maybe there should be an age limit, but the problem is we just don't know where the age limit is.
Well,
Because
there
some
is a
presidents look
mandatory
at Humpty
age of
Dumpty.
retirement, so why not there? I mean, what is it? It's either 65 or 70. 65 is voluntary,
Well,
75 it's
because
mandatory.
it
So
had because I mean Reagan's first 6 years were really good years.
yeah,
Trump's 4 years were okay years, and they're all in their 70s. So 70s could be, hey, look at sexy Ben down here. We're gonna drop you in a second, Ben. And but I mean, I mean, that's a problem today. Age as the generations move forward, 70 was dead. 40 years ago, you were dead at 70.
Yeah.
It's just where you were. Today, you're going to make 80, maybe even 90 if you're lucky. 40 years from now, they're going to be living to 100. Unless Putin goes on a rampage or something crap like that. But anyway, we're going to drop Benito Giles in with us in a second. He's from, you heard it here first, and he'll be joining us. By the way, Jay McNicholas, he's with Church of Mavis and the crazy Jeffrey Pritchard, man. And Jeffrey's insane. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, make no mistakes. I'm insane too. I just let Jeff outshine me a little.
Oh yes. Well, no, I honestly think somebody dropped Jeffrey on his head when he's a baby, but we're not going to go there. It's just not fair to him because he's not here to defend himself. But hey, Ben, how you doing, man?
Good. How you guys doing out there, man?
We're hanging in. We're hanging in. I'm waiting to see the invasion on my beach out front. I got my guns ready. I'm ready
Oh
to
my
go.
God.
I got me a 20 millimeter cannon out front. Fully automated. I can run it from the remote control
Yeah.
of my house. Take
Well,
out.
I mean,
your attack dogs too, Joe.
that kind of. You're gonna need that kind of stuff to go down the corner store and get yourself a beer. You know that.
Yeah, well, you're probably
That's
right
what
about
it's
that.
coming to.
That's the sad
But
thing. You're probably
I'm
right.
but uh, but I'm watching a lot of propaganda blow up too. I mean, the funniest thing came out just earlier yesterday. One of the pictures that showed the explosion, what's supposed to be happening in Europe, really wasn't authentic. It's from some 5 6 years ago.
Well, they do that.
Interesting stuff.
That's been used as propaganda over the years in different places, and they were showing. Well, the Russians, of course, are only going to show the good stuff that they do, and the Ukrainians are only going to show the stuff that they do. But at least the Ukrainians are putting up a fight now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably a
Yeah,
futile fight, but still, it's a fight. For if they could
it's
just
the
learn how to fit.
oddest thing. I mean, correct me if I'm looking at this completely wrong, but according to what I read and what I heard, these people are of Russian descent who happen to be living in the Ukraine. Is that correct?
Well,
And they're two,
Ukraine's a
three
funny
generations
place.
deep.
Well, there's 40, 42, 43 million people there, and they were a country before the Soviet Union took them, and then the Soviet Union kept them for God, I forgot how long, and then they became independent again, and they really did want to be independent. They want to be a democracy. They don't want to be under communist rule. And the thing about Putin is, Putin technically is a democracy. Kind of, sort of, in the very loosest sense
The
of the word you
vaguest
can
sense of
use.
the word, yeah.
Because, but Russia had moved to a democracy pretty much until Putin, got in there. And I don't know what we're going to do with the guy, but as it stands right now, um, it's America's in a tight spot. If Trump was there, it wouldn't have happened. Whether we like Trump or not, even NBC has to concede to the fact that the crazy Trump was there. Russia didn't do anything stupid. China wasn't even talking about Taiwan, and even
Well,
Kim Jong
no,
Un went and sat down and hid his little drawer somewhere.
but
So
everybody
our problem
is
is,
out of it. Donald is out of it. He's just crazy enough to do something crazy. So you know what? Let's figure out something different.
yeah, and you're right. That's what the fear was, because
Yeah.
when Obama was president, that's when Russia took the two things in Crimea, and there was two other countries that went ahead and took stuff too, because they knew
Yeah.
President Biden wasn't going to do anything. He wasn't that
Uh,
kind of president. And I don't think it was because Obama was scared. I just don't think Obama wanted his legacy to be, I went and killed more people than I had to kill already. Because he had to kill enough people in Iraq and Afghanistan. Why go start some more wars where you got to kill some more damn people? I'm sure he didn't want to be. He wanted to be.
mhm,
And then,
mhm.
of course, now they're doing it again under Biden because he's a weak president. Nobody's scared of Biden.
Yeah,
My freaking
absolutely.
chihuahuas aren't scared of Biden. They bark at him now. They're like,
we actually
it's
talked about
sad.
that on Jeff's
But
show,
this
Joe. And
guy,
what happened is exactly that. Is
but this guy
while
is
Trump said
still,
he wouldn't have, Putin wouldn't have done this, but the scary thing is what you were talking about. The country itself, Ukraine, is it's a big mix. So on the eastern side, you got, outside of Ukraine, you got Serbia and Croatia, and then you got the Crimean coast, which is part of Ukraine, and that's kind of an ethnically different group than the main Ukrainians. And then on the far west side, you got a mix of Ukrainian and Turkish, because Turkey's on the west side of the country. So you got all these 3 or 4 different cultures clashing as one. But the reason why Putin is in there is there's something he wants, whether it's facilities or some kind of minerals. And Ukraine is like number 4 worldwide as far as production of uranium ores. They're like 5th or 6th as far as magnesium, manganese, and other type of the types of ores you need for electronics. So he's there for some reason.
You're
He's not
breaking
there
up
to
on my
reunite.
end. Once again, what is their what? You're breaking up on my end. Once again, what is their primary GDP there that you were mentioning?
Well, the place he's going after is the Crimean coast, which is like a third of the country on the eastern side. But there must be something there he needs, whether it's technology or facilities or minerals. But the country itself is like they're not far off as far as production of uranium ores and magnesium, manganese, and other essential minerals for almost all the technology we have today. So he's there for some reason. It's not just to unite the country.
That's an interesting observation. Do you think that he can feed, monitor, have authority over, and get neutral, if you will, neutral consent from 40 something million people?
What
Well,
repeat?
I don't know. The thing is that his the first time he went into Ukraine, it was to unite Russia, to bring them back into the fold of Russia.
Okay,
They don't want to be a part of Russia. They want, if Russia was 100% democratic, I think they might have not separated when they separated years and years ago. But it's ethnic. Whatever it is that he's after, it's either ethnic to cleanse or again, his reasoning is to reunite the country. But there's something else there behind the lines or behind the scenes. We just got to figure out what his motivation is, and it's probably something
yeah,
that he needs. It's got to be.
I concur with a lot of my young people around these parts. We're in the Southwest. I listen to all of the buzz and I just look at them and say, you know what? All of the dialogue is fine and good. But you know what? Follow. There's no reason that every
Ooh, we think we just lost. There's Joe again.
What is going on with these weird ass mics tonight? Sorry, I think mine keeps flicking its own self off. Maybe I got it too close, but anyway, let's move it over.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. You dropped out for a little bit there.
Yeah, that was weird. Sorry about that, guys.
Benito.
So yeah, we'll see when he comes back. So, I mean, I don't know with the UK with the Ukraine being what it is. It's a very big, large. It's 40 million people, about the size of Texas.
It's a huge place.
It is, and it's very mixed group of people there. And I know a big chunk of them are going to want to run to Europe and hang out there, but you got to stop and wonder and say, well, what is Putin actually doing? Why does he? He knew the response was going to be all the NATO countries were going to beef up everything, everything, their cyber attack, everything we can think of. They're going to beef up the Air Force, So maybe what's he thinking? Maybe a strategic low yield nuclear attack because he'll know where all the NATO's materials are. I mean, what is this crazy bastard thing? Because all he did was make it worse, not better.
I
there
don't
are
know
already
if
a bunch of countries bordering
talking
Russia.
to Benito, but he's there for some reason. it's either minerals or facilities or technology that was left behind. He claims at least the first time he went over there to reunite Russia, but he's attacking, from what I understand, the east side of the country, the Crimean Peninsula, which is a beautiful part of the country. But you think of it, you got the Serbians, Croatians, then you've got the beginning of Ukraine, you have Crimea. So those all three of those different areas kind of mingle together. So there's that cultural and ethnicity there. Then you got the central Ukrainians. Then on the west side of the country, you've got Turkish and Ukrainians who all kind of commingle. So I don't think if he's there for an ethnic cleansing, he's going to take over the whole country and he's going to do a Hitler thing. But he must be there for something, whether it's the uranium ores they have, the manganese, other minerals, resources, facilities.
So mate,
Something's
look
there
at
he wants.
yeah, okay, I'll tell you what it is. So he's got all the fuel he needs because everybody keeps calling him a giant gas station with the military, which is true. But Ukraine has a buttload of wheat. Matter of fact, I didn't know this. I found this out today. But all the humanitarian wheat around the world comes from the Ukraine. All of it.
Wow.
It all comes from there. So that's a big supply because Russia's got to feed its 180 million people plus it's 40 million. They'll get 220 million, but it's better than that because this way, if the world cuts off him and Xi Jinping will still be able to feed his people because he'll have some of the grain coming and he'll have fuel coming from Russia. So they won't, and that fuel will be cheap because be coming from Russia. The only people buying it would be them. So probably like 5 cents a gallon or some shit. But all that will be cheap. But that's the only two people to be able to trade, and that's not enough. China wants to be a world power, and it's had a taste of being a world power, but now it's being squeezed back down thanks to crazy Trump. He put all kind of sanctions, and then for some reason, Joe Biden came in and put more sanctions. And if he backs Russia too much, they're just going to squeeze him some more. Because unfortunately for Ping, I don't know why it is, but the world's just not scared of him. Putin is scared of because he might do something stupid.
Yeah.
Xi Jinping was educated in the United States. He went, I think he went his finishing school and college here, and he does understand America more than probably all the rest of the leaders that we have to deal with because he, like I said, he went to school here. And he learned our culture. He got involved, and he wanted to know how we work. And he wants capitalism, but he wants communism. What he wants is capitalism from the middle down. So from like your governors or your mayors down, that's fine. You can elect them, and then y'all can have capitalism. But from there up, we want communism. We want to be able to control where the direction the country's going and what kind of money is being spent where. And maybe they can make it work. I don't know. It's never worked in the past, but they can all keep. I mean, it seems to be working a little bit. But when you got a lot of money, you can prop up any kind of government. It's not that hard of a thing to do. The aliens have taken Ben. I hate that the aliens took Ben. We're going to have to put an alien alert out for Mr. Ben Benito Childs. He's been taken. Yes, it's like he's being beamed. It's holding in there. So, Gloria, the trucker thing is interesting because it's just a bunch of crazy people got together and we're going to stop this. Now, there's enough trucks in the United States if they really wanted to. They could wreak havoc. I mean, they could cut off all kind of things all around the country and wreak havoc, but that's not what they're after. And actually, right now, I don't know exactly what they're after because the CDC came out today and said, "Oh, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. 80% of y'all don't have to wear a mask anymore, and you don't even have to wear them in public places." And everybody's like, "Really? That was that easy? We just had to threaten it?" And I said, "Trudeau's up there trying to kill people. We down here just threatening and giving in." Well, there's a lot of stuff been coming out lately, like Pfizer and Moderna had applied not to have to release the technology for 75 years.
Wow,
in their findings and all. The last two courts they tried to go through, didn't like that. They were like, nope, you got to tell the people what's in them. If they start losing body parts or growing extra parts, they're going to want to know what the hell's in them. So you have to tell everybody.
Well, didn't one of them get pulled? Wasn't the Moderna vaccine pulled?
It was, and it went back, and then Johnson & Johnson just quit making theirs. Actually, I found out that's partially true. They quit making theirs in the United States. What's up, Ben? You back? We got you back, baby? No, not yet. I wonder what the hell's happening. There must be some kind of weirdness going on between us and him. I bet he's on some kind of wireless and there's some kind of interference in his house or something.
Might
like
be,
the government listening in. No, people, I didn't say that out loud. Shh.
Mercury in retrograde again.
But, well, no, stop spamming me. What do you mean? I think the war will go to like Europe, like the EU? Is that what you're asking me? The EU, whatever the hell they call themselves now?
European Union. Yeah.
Yes, the EU.
Which is weird because we're in Spanish. The United States is called the Estados Unidos, so we've been EU before there was an EU.
That's right, you damn EU people. See what happens when you use copycatters.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it this way: this is what would happen if Putin was stupid enough to invade the EU. First off, it would be a much harder fight than what they're doing in Ukraine because there's a lot more weapons down there, and there's a lot of military. There's a lot more military down there, including the U.S., and we got all kind of fighter jets all over the place and tanks. And look, it ain't going to be no cakewalk.
No.
And but more than likely, Britain or somebody might use low-yield strategic nukes to take out like his whole army.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention the fact we've got bases in Turkey, Poland, Germany. But probably some in France. I know we've got some in Italy. So, I mean, he's not just going to be invading Europe. He will be invading us as well.
Mm-hmm. And, well, he said the other day that America don't understand because they're always far away from the fight and it's never been brought to our home. Well, that's almost true. We know that Pearl Harbor was pretty close to home. Even though it wasn't the mainland, it's pretty close to home. But 9/11 was at home.
Closer. There are German U-boats that are sunk not far off of your coast there in the Gulf of Mexico.
You know, it's funny. I was reading the Princeton. They got a scenario that they did on how fast the world would go. I wish I kept it on this computer. So maybe I can find it later. But so basically, this is how they're saying it's going to happen. Low yield tactical nukes first, strategic targets only. First 15 minutes, 2.6 million dead. First 15 minutes. Okay. Second, medium yield, second wave, whatever left is in strategic targets, anything in the field, and then pretty much boom, boom, boom. At that point, it's I think it's like 16 million dead, and then here come wave 3. Now, these are strategic targets as far as like New York, D.C., Maryland, Detroit, any major metropolitan area is now a target. Okay, here we are now. We're down an hour and a half in it, and there's 90 million dead. So, I'm sorry, no, there's 56 million dead. And then they do phase 4, which brings up to 90 million dead. God knows how many are going to die from radiation poisoning down the line. But that's in the first 5 hours of attack. 90 million dead. First 5 hours. And that's only if the United States and Russia only target each other.
Yeah.
That's not if Russia goes off and starts targeting all over Europe, and Europe starts targeting all of them. China gets involved, we start targeting China. India gets involved, we start. No. Then it's going to be much higher totals. It'll be somewhere in the 500 million, 700 million range, maybe even as close to 1 billion. It just depends which way. But most predictions think that if the United States and Russia got into it, everybody else would stand out of it unless they were directly involved. Because for China, it's a no-win situation. They've only got 475 nukes, or maybe 600 now, but Russia got 3,750, and we've got 3,240. And we have all of our missiles are multiple warheads. Only half of Russia's are. So that means, and the way Russia...
We also have some of those new devices that are out. There's that the stealth destroyer. I forget, it's a weird name, but it's got a rail thing on it.
Yeah. No, yeah, the Zimwalt class.
Allegedly, there's some energy weapons up in outer space, and we know I don't know if it's for true, but I've seen the video, STS-48 video. There appears to be a energy weapon somewhere off the coast of Australia, which shoots out into outer space. So I don't think that we're going to be in any kind of a loss for weapons. Even if we shoot all of our nukes off, we'll have stuff to shoot back with.
If Reagan and Bush's dream what came to be, which it may or may not have because we don't know.
We don't know.
They would design a six-tier missile defense system against a large display of missiles, not a couple of little ones. They're talking about like they launched all 3,000 at one time.
Right.
So the 6-tier basically is this 3-tier missile system that's deployed around the country. We know they are deployed around the country. We know they're deployed in D.C. itself. I've actually seen them myself in D.C. in several locations. And there are different types of missiles. So tier 1 is just basically like a scud. It just hits the missile and blows it up, or gets close enough and blows it up.
Yeah.
The other one, the second one is that's what that second one does. One is actually has to hit it, which I never understood that, but the second one does shoot like it plops out like I think it's a 250-foot area of these little like pellet that rips through the missile and destroys it.
It's a flying shotgun.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. And then tier 3 is a low yield tactical nuke. And those are really more for like if they're dropping a bomb over DC and say it has 4 or 5 warheads on it, or more. They want to
Mhm.
be able to do. They want to be able to kill them all at one time, and that's the only way they're going to be able to do it is with that. And those are pretty cool. And then of course there was supposed to be the 3-tier laser system. Now we know the airplane is designed and flies. It's supposed to fly figure eight over the United States all the time, and it has a laser system on there that can basically wreak havoc
Mhm.
on multiple targets at multiple times. This is supposed to be one over Europe too, but as far as I know, they never were actually deployed. Obama said it was a waste of money, and so I think he pulled them.
But
Maybe
that's what a
now,
politician would say about a device they actually want to get working, so that they can secure
yeah.
the funds and still get it going. But as far as the official word is, it never happened.
And the ground-based laser system. When we do know there is a ground-based laser system, DARPA was testing it just recently. So, and not
Mhm.
just DARPA, Boeing was actually testing one too. We do know they are working on lasers for like our planes and tanks and other shit like that. So those are probably are out there. There's supposed to be a space-based laser as well, because whatever Reagan decided, I never understood what Reagan was doing. So when I finally got to see some half-ass specs on these lasers he was building, I was, for shooting down missiles. These things were massive. I mean, I'm thinking, what is he? I think maybe he was going to put them in space and use them like to sweep through a city because they were big. They would wipe
Mhm.
out a city in no time at all. And I was like, no. Then I come to find out they pointed up at space. So I'm okay. So they're for ballistic missiles. That's what he was doing, a Star Wars system for ballistic missiles, and that's what went good because there was a ground based version, there was a space based version, and they would kind of like and destroy everything. And I started reading about it. Just this thing is for like maybe shooting down like the Death Star.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing was massive. I don't even know if it got close to the missile, it would destroy it. No doubt about that. But these missiles were not actually designed for that. And there was even more evidence because Area 51 in Los Alamos got these stupid ideas on not really stupid ideas, but they wanted to blast things into space. So they made these big discs and they ribbed them and they would set them on top of the laser and the laser would superheat them and shoot them into space. So they were thinking maybe this could be a new like delivery system to send things in orbit and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Never come to find out what truly happened to it all, to be honest with you. But none of this is speculation. This is all fact. You can go read it for yourself. But I could never figure it out. I'm like, what the hell was he planning? And then, crazy bastard Reagan says, you know what? Well, I'm not happy enough with that. Let me start Pine Gap. What the hell? Pine Gap? What the hell is a Pine Gap? Oh, it's a joint American British defense of outer space. What? Okay, what the hell is outer space? What are we talking here? Past the moon? I mean, what?
No,
I mean,
because back then most of the missiles were suborbital, so they did leave the atmosphere. Like if Russia were to launch from, say, Arkhangelsk, which is on the North Sea, the missile would leave the atmosphere temporarily, not into outer space per se, but well above where any of us could breathe without dying, and then it would re-enter the atmosphere, and that's where it is. It the troposphere, I think, is the level that they would go to. That's where they were talking about knocking them out of the sky when they were just so far out of our atmosphere that if they were to able disable the weapon, whether they disable the nuclear device or disable the engines, when it started to come back in, it is now essentially ballistic and would catch on fire, reheating into the atmosphere and fall into the ocean as a dud.
oh yeah, that's what Star Wars was designed for.
Yeah.
But Pine Gap, I'm not sure what Pine Gap was designed for. First off, they got this massive. It looks like the what do you call them? The satellite array that they got out in the desert. It looks just like it. It's
Yes.
massive. There are
Satellite
dishes
array.
everywhere. Yeah, there's dishes everywhere, and the amount of UFO sightings out there, people planes being brought down, big weird green lights that bring down Cessnas and stuff as they try to sneak by, they bring them down and land them. It's and then they tried to hide themselves, and we busted them by the way. They somewhere in I think it was like 2004 or five. They said, "Oh, the base had been disbanded, and we're going to use it anymore." So we were like, "Oh, yeah." But we kept checking into it, and it was like 2 years later. One of our investigators found invoices for material being sent to Pine Gap. This was like 3 years later, I think it was. So once it came back out, we brought it on air and talked about it. After it came back out, they went ahead and admitted they were still there and they were doing whatever they were doing. And then, of course, Reagan instituted the Hawk facility,
Mm-hmm.
which is shooting big holes. I mean, I don't know what this. It's like he's playing pool in space or something. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's shooting at something, or had plans on shooting at something. It just seemed like. And then he did those 7 speeches where he talked about alien invasions on the planet. you just got to wonder, was he really trying to get the Russians, or did he have some other crazy notion in his head? And not that there couldn't be aliens, people. I'm not even going to go there tonight, but it is strange that he had those speeches, and then he did three different things that could be used to defend the planet against something coming inbound.
Well, and it's quite possible. I mean, are you familiar with the video from the shuttle flight STS-48?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I've seen the close-ups. I've seen the full, wide view of it. We're shooting something from the planet out into space at something that takes off, and it's not ice, and it's not a reaction control thruster. I can guarantee you on both of those, because I have a degree in video, and if I could get that video, I could definitely analyze it if it's a special effect. But it's not the reaction control thrusters shooting off a piece of ice. That ice just doesn't go out of our solar system.
Doesn't change course either.
It doesn't change course 90 degrees. So
yeah, and that's what the damn thing changed course a couple times. I have no idea what that was about, but actually, hey, up there, Zeta, I see you up there. You need to catch us on Wednesdays or Saturdays when we're talking about that subject matter. It's going backwards for a few minutes back to the truckers before we go back to the Ukraine. The truckers it's just been interesting to watch them, especially in Canada. I mean, Canada grew a set, and now they're getting slapped around for doing such a thing, but they really needed to. I mean, they got Justin pink shorts. Oh, man. Don't get me wrong, I can't stand Biden, and I wasn't the biggest Trump fan either, but I think you got to go all the way back to, I liked Reagan. I liked Clinton, even though he was a no good
I like
dog.
Clinton too, even though I'm not a Democrat.
But I liked Reagan and Clinton. They had something going on. Daddy Bush, if he would have left the war alone, he probably would have been a decent president.
Yeah.
But he had to go get all wrapped up in Iraq, so that screwed him over.
Not once, but twice.
Obama, I could have probably liked, but he just jumped in too fast. He had the same problem Trump did. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't a politician yet.
Yeah,
he'd only been a junior senator. Yeah. Well, that's the truth. He was only a junior senator for 6 months. He had no idea what he got his ass into, and his own party jacked him around. His party cost him the House and the Senate after the Obamacare and Nancy Pelosi getting up there and saying, "Well, just pass it and we'll read it later." That was it. The country was like, "You're not getting the House or the Senate until Obama is out of office," and that was they didn't see it again until Obama was out of office, and almost 4 years for Obama, 2 years for Obama was before they got anything. And they barely got that. So it's strange. The country's moody lately, and we're tired of being lied to, and we're tired of having to. Everyone wants to lie and say, "Oh no, it's this, that, or the other thing," but it's not. It's chicken shit politicians that are only looking after themselves and their re-elections, and they're not really looking at, because everybody knows that Russia is a bad country. Everybody knows China's a bad country. So why are we buying crude oil from Russia? I'm confused, and we're still buying it, even though we're sanctioning. Even though we're sanctioning the bastards, we're still buying their oil. Trump got up there and said that because when Trump was here, we were oil efficient, so we didn't have to buy it from anybody, and he just presumed buy it from the Saudis anyway. So for some reason, here comes Mr. Obama, and I mean Mr. Biden, Obama light as I like to call him. He's buying Ukrainian gas. And it's fun. I mean, he's buying Russian gas, and I'm kind of like, why are you doing that, dude? I mean, what the hell's wrong with you? Why not just develop our resources? It creates jobs here. It spends money around the country because they think they're going to force us into solar and wind. They're not, because it's not efficient enough yet. That's what these ignorant politicians don't understand. America will be grateful for real solar and real wind whenever it happens. But right now, the shit we got today is a joke. And that is a big if, because we may develop something else. I mean, we're looking at antimatter for power. We're looking at dark matter for power.
0 point gravity.
We're also looking at that helium-3 on the moon, see what that can do for us. So there's a few alternatives coming in. Of course, we're looking at fission, fusion. So it's we're just cold fusion, yeah. So I mean, but these are all things. So a cold fusion reactor, you can make one about the size of a basketball. It could run your house, your car, your boat, everything you owned. But of course, you'd have some little ones, like little baseball size ones that would be for your car or whatever. But the thing about these they would probably be endless supply. Only if they were damaged would they quit working. So once they were activated, it would run for a really long time. It wouldn't be like, you got to go fill up every time I get in your car. And
Our sun is a cold fusion reactor.
yeah, and think about how fast it could go, people. You think yeah, we'd have to have flying cars for sure, because we'd have like smashed up people. Oh no, it'd wreak havoc. Because it's like a friend of mine one time said, "Well, electric engines aren't that fast." I said, "Oh yeah, if the windings are tight and it's built right, that damn thing go faster than any damn gas car on the planet will." Uh, but we're a long ways from keeping them. See, we can make them go fast. We can make them do a lot of things now. But so you Tesla, I love you. Elon, you my man. I'm gonna be in Elonville with you. But first, it takes a while to charge them up. But more than that, their average tank to a gallon is 270 miles. I will blow through 270 miles and like,
yeah,
my damn four banger Camry gets what, 500
at least.
And the best part about it is its carbon footprint is like not even a tenth of what the Tesla is. See, it always bothered me. People always think, oh, electric cars. Okay, let's talk about just the big lithium battery in the electric car. Okay, first we got to strip mine down in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Boom. Then we got to send it over to Japan where they're going to put it into a certain thing. Then it goes over to South Korea. Then it comes to the United States. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. It stops off in Mexico for some casing that has to be put on. Then it comes to the United States. So this thing is already traveling. Its carbon footprint right there is already bigger than about 8 or 9 Ford F-150s that have been driving for like 5 years. It's ridiculous, and people don't realize it. And they want to be they think they're being green, and they're doing more harm to the planet than gas is. You got to look at what the carbon overall footprint is to create something. To create my Camry,
do those batteries weigh? 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah, to create my Camry, everything was made in Toyota. I mean, in Japan. It was all assembled in Japan and was shipped over and shipped to here. Boom. And the damn thing gets such good gas mileage. Look, it damn near, if it get any better gas mileage, I wouldn't know what to do it myself. And the new ones actually get better because mine's a 2016.
And actually, Joe, nowadays, Toyota builds 70% of the cars made and or assembled here in America. So we're only taking 30%, 40% of parts from Japan. Because they have a manufacturing facility, I think, down in Tennessee or Kentucky.
Oh, you know what? I seen one in Georgia too. Yeah. So see, people, there you build at home. So, but we're just talking about just a Tesla battery. We're not talking about any of the electronics on board this thing.
Yeah,
which come from at least 3 other countries besides ours. So, I mean, you forget people, they're not being flown in either; they're being shipped in. So, I mean, come on, it's things glinging across the ocean for 7 days. Big diesel tanker thing driving around, polluting all the ocean, polluting the air, just so you can get your little Tesla chip, your little Tesla chip in their car. No, guys, I'm sorry. Check the carbon footprint before you buy a vehicle, because these days you can find out what the carbon footprint is in any vehicle in the world, for that matter. And right now, Tesla, like any electric car, is usually 10 to 20 times more than any normal car that's around today. And it's just sad. And if you really feel the need to help out, don't go with a full electric car. Go with a hybrid. So with the hybrid, you get the advantage of having electric, but you also get the advantage of having gas for power. Well, really, electric give you power now too, but still, there's a lot of different hybrids out there. What I've never understood is why we can't divine a self-generating electric car. I sat down with a friend of mine. I got a bachelor's in science, guys, and it's basic in electronics. And we sat down and designed this car so it's self-generating. So now with these big lithium batteries, you have it on there, right? So you can actually have a small alternator or a small generator on each wheel and let the friction turn the generator itself. And it's creating power. All that power can be put back into the lithium battery or just channeled directly into the drive system so the battery doesn't have to be drained. Either way you want to do it, it's doable. But the reason nobody wants to do it is because it cuts out everybody. Like what? Hello, Trish. It cuts out everybody's profit.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have to stop in my Tesla, so we said just 271 miles. So I'm going to California. That's 1, 2. It's like 15, 18 times I got to stop and charge my car. And it don't just charge like, pump gas. 2 minutes later, I'm done. I get my car, I leave. Oh, no, I got to go shop for an hour. I think it's 2.5 hours or 3 hours for it to fully charge. Plus the charging station to be built. And guess what?
Yeah.
Electricity is being made out of either nuclear or coal or natural gas. So really, people, are you really doing anything? You're not using fuel, right? But you are using fuel.
Someone still is.
Yeah, so you think your car is all green, it's running off electricity, but the electricity is being created by something. It's not like it's solar electricity. It's being created by a plant somewhere. It's
Yeah.
either coal, natural gas, or nuclear. That's the only three things they use. Because unfortunately, wind power and solar power. Do you know how to run the city of Houston? Okay, if you've ever been in West Texas, this is a great place. West Texas is just nothing but windmills and goats. That's all it is, and tumbleweed. So you get out there. I mean, there are everywhere you look for hundreds of miles. There's nothing but windmills. Guess what? All them windmills can't run Houston, Texas. Can't run Austin for that matter. I mean, so it's like more than half the state, and it can't even run one city. So it's useless for us. Now Tesla's idea, put the satellite in space, get the energy, pure energy from up there, not coming through the atmosphere and filtered, and then beam it down to us in the form of a microwave. But no, why would we do that? Because that's intelligent, but it's too hard to meter.
Yeah, you can't make any money out of it. That's why Tesla didn't win his contract. That's Edison's idea made profit for whoever got in on it. Tesla's idea was free energy for everybody. End of story. And that's why it didn't fly. No one was going to make any money off of it.
No, but they could. What I didn't understand is why didn't they just charge an initial setup fee and a tax?
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, you got to pay this tax. Like every other tax, you got to have tax on everything. That would have been fine, and you know what? The world would have been happier, and everybody still would have got rich, and it would have cost us far less than it does today. But I don't know. Martha Jones, I love that, Nick. Yes, I knew Martha Jones from Doctor Who. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. What do you got for us, Martha Jones? Where are you, by the way? I've been asking everybody where they are because we actually have a lot of friends overseas and a lot of people. We actually have quite a few listeners in the Ukraine. I doubt anybody's listening tonight, but if y'all are, guys, we're praying for you. We're hoping everybody's going to make it out in one piece and that some witch will go whisper into Putin's ears and make him calm his ass down. Or just poof off the planet. Either way, I'd be happy either way. I'm getting in trouble for this. There's things about Putin I like. I like that he's kind of egomaniac, insane, and wants to lead his country. He's got vision for his country. It's just when it's like with Trump. There was things about Trump I liked until he opened his mouth. But there's lots of stuff. His politics I was fine with.
They were both bullies.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of looking at it. And but in the end, narcissism gets you. Yeah, what it does. Well, Putin, from what I understand, from what I've been reading, and from a lot of the stuff that's been going through the Euro papers and from friends we got over there, basically it's come down to just recently one of the members of their parliament or whatever they call it, their council, retired and moved to England. Matter of fact, quite a few people have been moving to England. There's a couple of generals and a retired admiral from China snuck out, went over there, and they've been running their mouths lately. But anyway, he said that's gotten to the point where Putin is paranoid about everything. He thinks the West out to kill him. He said it reminds him a lot of Castro and Hitler. That the fact that he thought everything was a trap, everybody was going to kill him, everybody was out to get him. They just wanted him dead, and which may be true, but I've never heard of any attacks on Putin. But I guess we wouldn't if they weren't successful. The media wouldn't cover it over there. They'd be like, oh no. But I don't know why it should be. I guess our Putin did it again. Yes, he's give him the bad man. Yes, but yeah. It's a strange way that they do it. Christopher, you mean Putin? Well, no, wait, no. That is true. That is true that the president of the Ukraine has been on the front lines fighting. That is actually true. It's a true story. Putin, though, is in Moscow. Last I heard.
Yeah, he's not standing behind a gun.
Yes, he's just. Not that I don't think some bitch wouldn't get in a tank and blow something up, but if he gets killed, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Either Russia's going to cheer or they're just going to roll right to hell over the Ukraine. So that's a 50-50 thing. If they kill, what's his name? Is it Lazinski? Is that how you know? But anyway, if they kill him, then they'll probably install a new government and then they'll go home. Taking Ukraine and keeping it, it's going to be a tough thing to start off with because it'll be the U.S. will definitely be supplying rebels over there, so it'll be hell for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And why keep it if the Ukraine will agree to be neutral and not join NATO? Then maybe it'll be okay. Well, Putin is freaked out because we've got Poland's on his borders. Anyway, there's a bunch of NATO countries on one side of him right now.
Yeah,
If
Poland, Turkey.
if if we move NATO into the Ukraine with missiles and tanks, Russia's pretty much surrounded, and it'll be fast moving. So, in order for him to even slow it down, he'd have to put resources out there and spend all that money to protect his flanks. And Russia's poor right now, even though they got a lot of money coming in gasoline. They're poor. I mean, they don't have anything else. Shit. And thanks to the sanctions of the United States and Europe, they can't even get cheese in their country.
Ouch.
Yeah, they were to catch people black marketing cheese. So like a thing of Kraft cheese we would get here is like $3.
Yeah,
it's like $300 there.
16 slices of cheese.
Yeah, it's insane, and that's more stuff that's going to happen. I was listening to inflation. Russia's going to make everything go up. Wait a minute, CNN. That's bullshit. Everything is up. Let's not think you're going to blame this on Putin, because this is not Putin. This is Biden. Just get over yourself. And I've seen a lot of Democrats gotten pissed off about it. They're like, look, we're in enough crap as it is. We need to face up and do what we're going to do right. But and then, of course, I had heard Hillary out there. Well, if I would have been in office, none of this would have ever happened.
Oh, bull.
I'm like, Hillary, you sound a lot like Trump these days.
If she were in office, it would have happened early in her office, and it would have been way worse. Yeah,
it would have happened. It would have happened under her, because they were already moving around. See, that was the thing. They were all over the place under Obama. They were gaining territories everywhere. And China at that point was thinking about going into Taiwan, and then Trump came in. Well, Trump was the wild card. Whether you like him or not like him, he was the wild card. And Russia and China did not know how this guy was going to react. If you go watching him on his TV shows and shit, oh no, you think this guy's going to put his foot clean up your ass. And there was a rumor that was started by a Democrat. Was trying to make fun of him. Russia was talking about going into Ukraine in Trump's second year. And Trump mailed him a vanilla envelope with a white flag in it, saying, "We'll accept your surrender now."
Wow.
True or not, I don't know. But I will tell you this, what is for true. One afternoon in his second year, 3 boomers surfaced on one on the bottom of China, one on each side. And Xi Jinping got a very interesting morning call, like, "How are you doing? Did you not see?" They did not see these submarines for 5 hours after they surfaced. We could have wiped out all of China, all of Russia, and been home for tea.
Yeah, the good thing about our boomers or the nuclear submarines is they can remain underwater for up to 90 days, probably more. They have enough supplies to stay submerged for 3 months.
Oh yeah, and they can push it. They can push it longer.
Yeah,
really, 90 days
longer.
Is the 90, because so we're out on the Nimitz cruising along, woo, and all of a sudden the alarm bells go off, woo, 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 and looking at we're actually with the fleet. So with the fleet, there was 2 other carriers with us and all kind of like support craps. So we're cruising on along. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm on a flight deck, right? So I go look out, looking over the edge. Oh, she's tucked right underneath us. Couldn't have been 75 feet from the side of the carrier, just riding alongside. She had just come up and she was sitting there, and all of a sudden you see a tender ship coming over that's acting like it's tendering to us. It's sending stuff to us, but it's also sending stuff to the sub. I probably just broke some damn security agreement, but it was crazy to watch. And but it just tells you themselves. And there's usually, when there's a fleet run, there's usually 3 to 5 subs with it, and their orders are, if it comes between the sub and the carrier, they're supposed to take the torpedo, not the carrier. If they got to get in front of it, they're supposed to. Even that's for all the ships in the fleet, though. That's why it's so nice to be on a carrier.
Yeah, 3,000 people, and you got a bunch of guys blocking torpedoes for you.
Of course, we got a lot of sophisticated electronics and all of that kind of stuff these days. But somebody said we were talking about hypersonic missiles the other day. And he said, "Yeah, it's a hypersonic, which means it gets there faster, but it's still the same payload." Yeah. He said, that's great. And he said, think about it. It's hypersonic. He said, so it's doing Mach 6, Mach 7. It's cruising towards you. But as long as it's coming if it's more than 2 or 3 miles away, you still have time to shoot it down. If it's coming from like 15 or 20 miles away, you have a lot of time to shoot it down. The reason they think, because we use missiles to shoot stuff, a normal missile probably couldn't catch it, but we don't have to. You can shoot it head on. case y'all didn't know, people, they like got Gatling guns in these things, and they
Yeah,
roll out some
phalanx.
serious bullets. I
Phalanx.
mean, oh man, they got the phalanx cannons, and they got a couple other cannons. Then they got hand Gatling guns. That and they got on one of them I was on had 4 of these 20 millimeter cannons that just popped up. The barrel was probably big as round as I was, and it just it had it like it felt like an endless ammo supply. Probably a million or more rounds. It just,
Yeah.
just there was nothing coming through that. I don't care if you was in a jet, what the hell ever you was in, you were dead. If you got in front of that shit, you was dead.
My dad
But
told me about the phalanx one time. He was on a carrier in either Bermuda or the Bahamas. I don't know where, but because he was doing top secret work with the Navy, and they were testing one of the phalanxes, and I think it's a 20 millimeter Gatling gun. But he was on the deck directly below the phalanx installation, and they didn't tell him they were going to test it. So he didn't have a flak jacket on. He didn't have earplugs in. And they just went ahead and launched this thing off. And he said it launches off a football field wide of lead. But the report and the from the bullets shooting out, my dad's 6'2", was 6'2". He said it launched him off his feet, sent him 10 feet back, hit the bulkhead, sent him to the ground, and he hurt his back. And then he got up, he couldn't hear. So it's a loud gun. It shoots 100-yard wide field of lead. So anything inside that field of lead is destroyed.
Yeah, they it's getting more interesting now because I was watching these little heat seeker rounds they got now. I don't know when they're going to start deploying them. They say they deployed them in the field already. I don't know if they have it or haven't. But they're also going to be deployed in on board jets and like phalanx systems and other systems like that. Just because if it's got heat, it'll go right to the heat source. That's where the bullet will go.
Cool.
We'll see how it goes. Now the Zemwalds, they're badass. Them rail guns, they can lower them even with the side of the deck and just go alongside of a ship and cut it in half. You just keep on rolling. It doesn't matter what kind of ship it is. It'll cut it in half. I watched them do. They were out at Bikini Atoll, and they were shooting one of the old shipwrecks out there with them. Right, it cut it. I mean, it looked like it was butter. It was just. But from what I understand, then the rounds were almost $1 million a round. I hear lately they're down to 100. Now, as far as I know, only one of the destroyers had the railguns. The other two have been taken off because they're too expensive. Of course, if we go to war, that'll change.
Exactly.
They'll be put back on, and we'll build more of them. But the railguns are badass, and they do work, and they are operational weapons. It's just they're expensive to run. But in the war, don't think we won't put them with some bitches on some ships.
You're essentially sending a caseless projectile at near the speed of light, and anything it touches, it's essentially equivalent to a nuclear explosion when it hits.
It just rips right through it.
Mm-hmm.
All the ships they showed them, it went clean through. Matter of fact, what was cool about it, if you could cruise like just here's a good one for y'all guys. So, Chinese in the South Pacific running patrols. Whole fleet, right? Big fleet. Got their aircraft carriers out there, 2 of them, their whole fleet out there. And one U.S. destroyer somehow or another got into the middle of the fleet without being seen. So if she'd have been carrying rail guns, she could have just been going along and just cutting these ships in half as she was going. And if she had 3 rail guns like they want to do, she could be just on both sides, just cutting them in half. Sooner or later, but she's got defensive armor that bolts outwards and stuff. So she probably sunk half or more of the fleet before they even got her to slow down. They're very deadly ships, and nobody in the fleet has anything like that. the Chinese, plus when they're out at sea by themselves, they look like maybe the size of a small clipper. They don't look like any kind of warship.
200 long yard, 200 foot yard, 200 foot long yacht, not yard. Yeah.
But they don't even look that big. They look, you know what they look like? About the size of a PT boat.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And that's the radar signature they give back. So, and most people don't realize it, but like the SR-71s do give a radar signature back, but it's about the size of a crow.
Yeah, it's a bird.
So
that's why they call it the blackbird, because
unless it's way up high. Unless it's way up high, you think it's a damn bird. Right. But remember, that's what got our asses kicked in World War II. People didn't realize we actually seen the Japanese coming, but the stupid idiots thought they were birds, and everybody knows what happened after that.
Oh yeah.
But getting back to the original topic, we stray sometimes. People give us a break. I mean, it is wartime after all. Not for us, but at least I hope not for us. A friend of mine brought up a good point today. He's like, Well, if Biden gets in the war, guess what? We're stuck with him.
No.
No, I think we'll impeach him. I think I actually think right now, if the Republicans win in a super majority, like everybody's predicting them to win in, that they'll impeach him, her, and her. Which by that, what I mean by that is actually they'll impeach him, her, him. And what I mean by that is they'll impeach Biden, they'll impeach Kamala, and they don't want Nancy running the country, so they'll
Oh, hell
impeach
no.
Nancy. And then Chuck Schumer, and probably what's the other one? I can't think of his name right there. The other crazy liberal. All five of them are going to impeach. Oh, and they already said they want to impeach AOC and Omar, so that'll be seven of them. That will be wild because all of them need to be impeached. Why AOC hasn't been brought up for races, and why Omar hasn't been seriously brought up for what she said about the Jews? She should have been thrown out of Congress for that. I mean, if a congressman would have said that about Muslims, they would have won a drawing quarter. So why is it okay for her to say it about Jews? She didn't live
There's
over
definitely
there.
some favoritism up there. It's definitely what you're seeing. But in order for Biden to remain in office, we can't just be like sending troops via NATO.
Oh no,
Congress
we got to be a
have to
war.
declare war. Otherwise, he can be voted out.
Oh yeah, we got to be a war. Yeah, we no playtime shit, not like Vietnam or
Not like
the shit
Vietnam,
going on.
not like Korea.
And not like the Afghanistan stuff or the
Yep, exactly.
Iraq stuff. In other words, what he's telling y'all is he means World War III people, and then we're stuck with whoever we got.
Exactly. That's why
Yes.
Truman was in there for 3 semesters.
Yeah, who wasn't? It was Eisenhower, not Eisenhower.
Truman.
It was Truman, but Ike was in too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came in after, but Truman was in there for 4 years worth of presidency.
They yeah, that's why we have term limitations now. People, we had two of them. Yeah, no, it's crazy. You can't be letting no president run a country. That's a dictatorship. That's not a damn presidency. That's Putin, is what that is.
Yeah, or Hitler.
Yeah, people forget this, and I like to remind y'all of this. Hitler was elected. Okay,
At first.
he did not. Yes, he did. Wasn't a dictator in the beginning. He was elected, and he was elected by the majority, and he was doing his job and straightening out his country. And then somewhere along the line, he went batshit crazy. What can I tell you?
Declared himself the Führer, permanent.
Putin was elected twice. And Medvedev was his prime minister, and then he ran and was reelected. And then they changed the law so that Putin could run again. And then they changed it from 4 years to 6 years, so he could stay in longer. That basically, Putin just owns everybody there. And from what I've heard, everybody tells me the same thing. They're scared to say anything because either they're going to be put in jail or killed.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how Hitler got powers. He threatened all of his enemies and or killed them. But he also, in order to get through, he made it impossible for anyone who had guns to keep them, and anyone who wanted to get guns, whether for hunting or for sport, to get them. So he secured his legacy by taking out all the civilian guns and taking out all the political party enemies he had or rivals who could have won the chancellorship from him. And then once he did that, I think it was 2 years in that he declared himself the Führer and permanent president of the country.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was just reading what Trish posted. It's the bad part is if you believe in reincarnation, this guy could be Vlad the Impaler, or Papa Doc or somebody worse. I remember the other day a friend of mine tells me, he said, Joe, there's never been any black dictators like that. I said, you got to be shitting me, right?
Was that guy in Uganda?
Yeah, and then it's Papa Doc. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, there's been several of them. I mean, and I'm like, guys, let's not go there. There's a whole bunch of them in Africa. We're not even talking about it.
There's a reason it's called the Dark Continent.
Man, it's but he was just ignorant. I mean, I'm like, dude, did you not go to school or something? Did you like skip some grades or something? I mean, what the hell was going on here?
We're skating by. I don't know, but yeah,
maybe so.
History is replete with all color and type of dictator.
It is. And again, Putin was elected five times now, but still he was elected. Now he's going to be Putin the dictator. Yes, I have come for you people. Luke, I am not your father, you bastard. I mean, that's how he is. But, you got to remember something about Putin, too. Even though he is a paranoid freak right now, which I'm kind of depressed about because he was doing some crazy stuff in his early days. He does have a daughter. He's got children. He does love life himself, and he don't want anything happen to his kid. I know he's very protective over the blonde haired daughter that was in the scan one of the scan. I think she's in Switzerland, and so he don't want nukes because if she's going to die, who wants to live the rest of their life in an underground shelter?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure his will be luxurious, but the rest of the place will be a shithole. So I'm thinking not so much. So does he really want to use nukes? No. But more importantly, with somebody like Putin, will the powers be let him use the nukes? See, in the United States, we have options. So, and
It's at least a 3-man or 2-man thing to drop a nuke in our country.
Yeah, it takes it's got to be released by the president, and it's got to be okay by the vice president, and then it goes on to whoever's going to shoot the nuke. Whether it's see, like the sub captain, he can refuse it. Of course, he can get court-martialed and put in prison, but he really can refuse it if he really wanted to. The shelter guys, the silo guys, they can as well because it takes two of them. Both of them have to agree to turn that key on that nuke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's designed like this. Now, 99% of the time, they're going to do just what they were told. That's it. But if they think there's something crazy, or if you've been watching your commander like incoherently for 2 years or so, you might not want to be the guy who starts World War III. You don't want to be the guy who dies, but you don't want to be the guy who starts World War III either. And the thing about boomers, once they go boom, everybody knows where they're at.
Right.
So they better haul ass, but still everybody knows where they're at. But by then, I would imagine most of the surface fleets would be rubble.
Well, I mean, the good thing about our submarines is, and part of it is due to some of the research my dad did when he was alive. Our submarines can travel at full speed, and most of them the big ones can go, I think, up to 36 knots underwater, which is what, 40, 50 miles an hour?
Yeah, about 45, something like that. 1.5 miles.
Right, pretty fast underwater. Yeah. But the thing is about our technology in most of those is that even at full speed, most of the Russian boats can't find us with their radar because their radar or sonar rather, isn't as good as ours. So even if the Russian subs are moving at silent running, they can't hear our boats at full speed. And they got to be right on top of them. So unless they're right on top of our boats when they launch, they're not going to catch them.
Well, people, when you see the movies, when they talk about the crazy Ivans, the Russians made those because of the Americans. The Wolfpack, they never can hear the Wolfpack behind them. So they do that to find out if the sub's following their asses.
Yeah, because the tricks that we use is what we call following in the baffles. And so you come up behind the boat where it's screwed, where the propellers are. They cannot hear you. You can be running. You could be banging on the hull of the submarine with a hammer, and they can't hear you. So in order for them to turn around and see what's behind them, they had to turn all the way around 360 left, 360 right, and that's where the crazy Ivan comes in, is to see who's behind chasing them.
Yeah,
and usually it was us.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to have at least one wolf pack for every boomer they have tagging them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we cheat. In case y'all notice, America, or the rest of the world, if you're listening, they have these things called whale listening stations all around the world. I mean, they're all around the world. They're in the Arctic.
Yeah.
So originally, these were U.S. sub listening stations. That's what they were designed for. But we gave them to the whale listeners, okay, so they can track whales. Well, unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, the U.S. has access to them all the time. So even though these guys are doing their jobs listening for whales, a lot of times they're finding submarines. So the U.S. is tracking those submarines through. So they looked good by giving these things to these people. They don't have to keep them loaded up with people anymore because they're half automated and half run by the whale watchers, and they're everywhere. And they've added a few more since then. So it's hard to get through all that. It's hard for Russian subs. That's why they tried to invent the impeller, which is basically jetting water through. They had success with it. They had success with it, but they were too expensive, and they broke down a lot. And you can't be, you're going to World War III. You can't have your biggest submarine in the fleet not moving because the impeller drives went out. So it's a strange thing. The U.S. has some stealth with its subs, but not enough. And people, there's a lot more subs floating around in the ocean than y'all realize. When you start going country by country by country by country, there's a lot of freaking submarines out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bumping around. But Carolyn, what do you mean? The Russian Navy, okay, the Soviet Navy was bigger than the United States by a full third. Yeah, it was a
Huge.
full third bigger. Now, in a head-to-head fight, they were still lost. The U.S. Navy was far more advanced and had far better weapons.
Hmm.
So, but in a conventional World War II style war, they'd have kicked our ass.
Oh yeah.
So they were going by numbers based on that, and the United States was going by technology that could take out ships quicker. We got a lot of air ram missiles that just boom, ship is sunk. It doesn't matter what kind of ship it is, it's sunk. It'll even sink a carrier if it wants to. So usually it'll take two to sink a carrier, but still. And right now, the U.S. possesses 14 in-fleet carriers, five carriers in dry docks that are being decommissioned, two more or three more carriers that have been decommissioned but haven't been taken down yet, and the original 14. That's not including what the Marines have. The Marines have 4 or 5 of their own carriers, they're helicarriers, but they're for
Well,
like
also, don't forget, there's 4 or 5 of them that are museum pieces. You got the Lexington, the
Yeah.
Enterprise, the Hood, and a couple. There's like 4 or 5 museum pieces, decommissioned carriers that can be within a month or two easily recommissioned. So we're not hurting for carrier
Oh,
weaponry.
none for any of that. I mean, their ships, almost half the damn battleships that were fought in World War II are sitting in some harbor or some
Yeah,
river somewhere, like the USS Alabama, USS Georgia. Just
Missouri's off the coast of San Diego as a museum piece.
and we keep all them planes and all this out in those deserts. That's why they're out in the desert, so they don't rust or rot if they need to be used again. So, and all the parts are kept there if we need to do it. But for these days, the U.S. is very advanced, and if you're Russia and you're looking at the U.S. and you're thinking, do I want to get in a fight with these guys? Not really. You're going to get your ass kicked, and they know that. And the bad part is, though, the Russian people really don't hate America anymore.
Yeah,
they got a
we
taste
don't
of democracy.
Russian people.
Yeah, we don't either.
It's government. We hate their government. We hate,
So they're ready to be westernized. We just got to get a decent government now, and they'll be westernized. But they're not that far away. And the only reason Putin's done got up on Ping's ass is because he's paranoid. He needs backup. In the old days, it would have been the Nazi Germany, and they would have been friends, and Cuba and Venezuela and some other countries. It would have been enough to make a good coalition. But now, not so much. I mean, he doesn't have that many friends.
Yeah.
And so Xi Jinping's important. And Xi Jinping has a big navy. He has a decent air force. He's got crappy jets, but he's got a good sized air force. It'd be shot down in like 2 days, but still, he got a decent air force. And he's got a big navy, but this navy is, oh my God, his navy's worse than the Soviets was in World War II.
Yeah. It's not viable.
Junk. Yeah, it's not. It's just junk. And remember, people, Chinese have zero quality control on anything. So I'm not even sure, and the 2 carriers they didn't build themselves. One they bought from the Russians, which I think they're going to decommission before it ever gets commissioned. And the other one, I forgot where they got it from. France gave it to them and put the top on it or some shit. It's a yoke.
Yeah.
Something
else that you didn't really mention about way back when with the way the technology was is that, people think we're in America, we don't get hit with propaganda. You think back 20, maybe 30 years. There was that commercial, and I forget what the commercial was for, but it was a Russian fashion show, and they would say evening wear, and this chubby Russian lady would come out in a gray dress with an evening coat, and that's evening wear. Then they would say beach wear. She would come out in the same gray dress with a beach ball, and everyone thinks that we hate. Everyone in Russia thinks that we hate Russians. Everyone in America thinks the Russians hate us. The people don't hate each other. We hate their government. We hate our government. They hate their government. They hate our government. It's a lot different. But they put across the thing that all the Russian people are ugly, fat, gross-looking women, and they're not.
That's not true.
The entire Russian,
some hotties over there.
They have beautiful people over there, just like we do here. But 30 years ago in the 80s, they didn't want you to think they look like us. They wanted you to think if you think the country's full of ugly people, you don't have a problem dropping a nuke on them.
I know. It's nowadays, thanks to the internet, a lot more stuff. A lot more truths have come out, but
yes,
but they control a lot of that. I mean, certain countries you can't really get American internet. Unfortunately for Russia, just like unfortunately for China, there's this thing called airwaves. And they can't really stop the airwaves from coming into the country. That's why in World War II was so important. We used to just blast into Germany and into Russia all the time. We were blasting them airwaves all over the place. Now we have much more citizens. We can do it from space if we want to now. So it'll be a different kind of war, but they'll still be doing it. So if you're living in China right now, and good parts of China can get European radio, they can hear it in certain places. So can in parts of Russia they can hear it as well. So and if you're like middle class and up in China, you may have outside access. See, we take it for granted here in the United States and the EU, in Canada and places like that. We have access to all the internet around the world. We can even get into the Russian and Chinese internet, but it's not as true for them. They're not exactly allowed, and I know y'all don't understand, but they can actually block them from leaving their country's internet.
That's actually true. The Ukrainians actually cannot access Facebook and other social media on their national internet airwaves.
But yet, I'm a member of one of their version of Facebook in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I better get off of there now. Putin might come. Putin, I love
he
you,
might
man.
find us.
I love you, Putin, baby. No, baby, I love you, man. Show me that big hairy chested, that big bear chest, whatever the hell it was.
He's got a bear chest. He's Russian. He ain't got no hair.
Poor baby. You think you have a lot of hair being Russian? It's cold up there,
it's
man.
It's cold up there. You want to be a fur-bearing mammal if you live in that country.
Gloria to answer. We're just playing around, but to be serious, do I think it's going to escalate into something bigger? It's got a big chance. Now, do I think it's going to start World War III? I don't. Okay, let me put it this way: if Biden wasn't there, I don't think it would turn into World War III. I'm not so much worried about Putin. I'm not even worried about Xi Jinping as much as I am Biden. Biden might get his whole thing has been he wanted to prove that he was a better president than Obama. I don't know what his heart is on about Obama, but it's his thing. Obama did this, I'm going to do it better. And he's like he's trying to show Obama something. I guess they didn't have the best working relationship or something, but
I bet they really hated each other behind the scenes.
Probably did, but I mean, it does seem to be that's what he's trying to do, and he might just. I mean, if he was to put troops in Ukraine, that's itchy shit there.
Yeah.
And I know all of NATO, if we get attacked, has to go to war with us. But also, Xi Jinping has the same pact with Russia, so they'll have to go to war. Probably Venezuela will jump in, Cuba will jump in. I don't know if Cuba will. If Cuba does, we'll just annex their asses. We're just gonna be tired of it. They will become an island of Florida. They'll be the far island of the Keys, is what they'll be.
Yeah, they'll be the last island of Florida.
Yeah, because that's what'll happen. Because we'll just annex their ass, and you know what? The Cuban people will be happy. They won't even be fighting about it.
I mean, look, people don't realize Cuba's only 90 miles off of the last key island.
It's so right. It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
It's real close.
A speedboat, you can be there in under an hour.
Oh God, yeah.
And just a regular boat about 2 hours, but still. Well, where do you think these people were going? People they were trying to get to the Keys, and or if they got lucky and made it to the mainland, that was even better. But anywhere they could get on U.S. territory, they were happy. That's why there's so many drug runners down there. I mean, you can run up to Florida, hop a boat in Key West, have a boat parked in Key West with Key West registration. The Coast Guard ain't gonna screw with you while you're floating around.
No,
I do like though the ones that build them half-ass submarines at the top, just out the water.
Yeah,
but it's a sub, man.
Looks like a floating barrel or something.
They found one just recently off the coast. It was about 42 foot long. They found off the coast of Florida. Still had, I think they said 2.5 tons of cocaine in it. They estimated there was more like 5 tons. They just couldn't get the rest. I think the rest got wet or something. Which, whatever reason they didn't want to come back for, or they were just worried about getting busted, one or the other. But they never did catch who it belonged to. Just some drug lord down there, and he probably made way more money off that cocaine than what that damn stuff cost.
How are you going to claim that? Oh, by the way, that's my drugs. Who's going to say that's mine? Nobody's that
Well,
stupid.
No, that's my submarine. Well, I can't help it. It was dry. I didn't put the damn drugs in. Somebody stole my submarine. I just want my submarine back.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, you're going to jail, buddy. But there is a possibility for escalation here. I mean, that's why we were talking about the Princeton scenario. So in the Princeton scenario, and it's a true scenario, I mean, it's not the only one. There's several others out there, but in it, I mean, in 5 hours, 90 million dead. And in a full nuclear confrontation where the U.S. and Russia decides to dislodge all of their arsenal, which is 8,000 nuclear missiles, anywhere from 2 kilotons to 50 kilotons. Yeah, the Northern Hemisphere is screwed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so bad for the Southern Hemisphere as it will be for the Northern Hemisphere, but the Northern Hemisphere is
North America and most of Russia and most of Europe will be decimated.
and it's not even that the once the jet stream picks all the radiation up, it will just sweep it. See, what happens is the equator is like a buffer.
Yeah.
Because the wind blows different directions at the equator, just like the tall it spins different directions at the equator. So it kind of acts as a buffer. What they have to worry about is the cycle of the ocean, where just the convection of the ocean may bring it down into the ocean. But it's not going to be as horrible as what we would see up here. I mean, everything would be dead. There'd be nothing alive. Everybody would be living somewhere. The radiation, there'd be lesser and worse. Some places would be worse, some would be worse, but eventually it would just kind of even out over from the equator to the pole, and it would just kind of float around for, I don't know, 2 to 10,000 years. So you think about it. Do we want to go there? So is that where you want to be? I mean, is that what we want?
Yeah, I mean, it
really,
really
is that what
depends
we
on
want?
Putin at this point. The further in, because if he's only attacking the Crimean coast, it's like the eastern third of the country. If he goes further than that and tries to annex the whole country, then all of NATO is going to try to stop it, and that's going to be the trigger. If he takes over the entire country, that'll trigger a new world war.
You know, and I was hoping when this started out, because Russia does this a lot of times, they'll run up against Ukraine and put a bunch of troops up there and then leave 6 months later.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this one just felt different. You know, I was talking with Michael Angley about it, and there was something, and Mike said the same thing. He thought it was going to be something that came up because, he thought that this would turn into them actually invading. Now, there's a couple of scenarios here. Are they going to keep the Ukraine? Are they going to take the whole Ukraine and keep it? Or are they just going to oust the government and let the people reelect and put a new government in? What are they going to do here? They're definitely going to keep the disputed territories in Crimea, so they're going to lose that for sure. But are they going to keep the rest of the Ukraine? That's yet to be seen. We don't even know what they're thinking about there. Or are they going to arrest these leaders and have them executed? Because that's what they're worried about. And because now they're talking about if Ukraine lays down its weapons, we'll have a peace treaty. We'll go talk to them about peace. Yeah, why? So this leader can show up so you can execute him? No, I just wouldn't even trust Putin at this point.
Yeah, that's something that Edward Longshanks did back in the 1400s.
And the U.S. already said we're willing to supply them weapons for for like if they have a rebel force going on. So we've already told them, yeah, just tell us what you need. We'll send it over to you. The problem is it's like Joe Biden and his dumbass self. So Trump sent over a bunch of Stingers and a couple other missiles about 2 years into his presidency. And he sent some people over to show him how to use them. So Biden said, I'm gonna do it, Trump. I'll send more weapons. Well, you don't send advanced weapons to somebody who don't know how to use them, because all you just gave them to the enemy.
Yeah,
that's what you just did. You just
like
gave all them weapons to the
grenade.
enemies. I mean, you just it's such an ignorant thing to do. I mean, if you're going to send over people to show them how to use it, that's fine. But then, we can't have military on their soil, because that'll really escalate shit. I don't know if we went in. It'd be funny if Joe Biden ordered about 1,000 troops to be dropped into Kyiv, and say it's not Kyiv either. By the way, people, stop calling it that. That's all I hear anymore. No. Go listen to the news and go listen to how they pronounce it in their country. Anyway, I shouldn't go off on those kind of things. I shouldn't even worry about that kind of stuff. But really and truly, at this point, this could easily escalate into something we would all regret. All I can tell you, if in certain places, if you live, you're screwed right off the bat. Don't worry about it. Other places like Los Angeles, goodbye. New York, goodbye. Chicago, goodbye.
Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah, Washington, D.C., goodbye. Baltimore, goodbye. Detroit. Yeah. Basically, the whole upper East Coast is going to be gone.
Oh, not just the upper East Coast. Kingsland, Georgia would be hit. That's where one of our sub bases is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, there are going to be lots of southern states hit, because a lot of the military is in the South. So, because they figure the South's more loyal, so they'll just blow all that shit up.
Yeah, Grotto, Connecticut, gone.
Now, how many of these states have missile defense systems? Now that comes the tricky question, doesn't it? I can tell you some of the strategic places definitely have missile defenses. They're designed for, but remember, people, a nuke doesn't hit the ground.
It blows up miles above it.
Yeah, it's an air burst, anywhere from 500 feet to 2 or 3 miles. It'll burst. It just depends. And the higher the burst, the more contamination. But there is a trick to this, or a secret to this. So if you happen to be the lucky person and you're standing directly under the burst, it will not kill you, not initially, because it will burst all the way around you. But there's a column that goes straight down that nothing actually is affected. They showed this when they were blowing them up over houses, like, when they were testing nukes back in the 50s. the house would be left intact. Everything around it was devastated, but
Mhm.
within 5 minutes of the blast, the house was completely contaminated with radiation. So it didn't really matter if the birds didn't kill you because the radiation killed your ass.
It also that column sucks the oxygen out of that
Yeah,
area,
it
so
does.
you would probably die unless you had an oxygen mask on you.
The sad part is how many troops we tested near those things.
Oh,
Uh,
hundreds, easily,
so,
maybe
well,
thousands.
Trish got a good point. When you do it, like when I like to pick on the cattle mutilation people, but if you go west of the Mississippi River, Colorado, oh yeah, they tested nukes in Colorado. Oh, New Mexico, they tested nukes in New Mexico, Arizona, they tested them there. Western California, they tested them there. They tested them they, pretty much, with maybe the exception of Washington State and Oregon. They tested nukes all throughout all the desert states, and they did it frequently. There was I forgot altogether. I think there was 1,097 tests done. Now some of these were done in the oceans. We'd like to go out to the Bikini
Yeah,
Islands and blow
some
the
are
shit up out of
underground,
fleets. Some were underground, yes,
some are in
and
space.
somewhere in space. It's well, if you ever get to watch the ones where they blow up the ship, so it was so funny. It's not funny thing. So they got a
Bikini
whole
Atoll.
fleet out there. Yeah, they got a whole fleet out there. So boom. Some of the ships sink, some of the ships don't.
Yeah,
Some of the ships just melted into these airtight bubbles that were never going to sink, no matter what you did to them. They would just. I mean, I would hate to be on them because you'd have been dead, but it was weird to see how each ship reacted,
hmm
how some just melted and became an airtight bubble, how some kind of sank, and how some of them just sank completely. And there were some ships that once closer to the initial explosion that were just obliterated. There was nothing
yeah,
left of them. They were just ash. And that was when we had maybe a quarter kiloton. Now
yeah.
we have 50 kiloton.
Well, we didn't just test our navy. We took all the remnants of the Japanese navy, the stuff from our navy that was no longer useful, the civilian boats, and if you watch really closely, some of the boats that are out from the initial explosion, they don't incinerate; they get knocked over. I mean, they just
Oh
flop
yeah.
over flat and then they sink. So the devastation was incredible, like you said, and some in melted, some just are fine. It's just so depending on, I guess, the construction, you'd be okay. I don't know.
Well, the ones that turned into melted balls, I guess if you were safe from the radiation, might have survived and could have got out later on. But the Bikini Island, what they did is they went and took I think it was 3 foot of soil off the entire island, and then refurbished it so there's no radiation on the island. But people, you can actually go to the island. I forgot that you get very limited time, but I would imagine the ocean around it is still extremely contaminated. I
At
don't think
least
them
the
ships.
ocean floor.
Yeah.
The water around it's probably spread out because of the currents.
Yeah, but anyway, I wouldn't go there. But but it is if for people who want to really understand what could happen between the United States and Russia, you need to look at a couple of those videos because that's what will happen if we get into this because there's no other way for it to end. Um, you got two egomaniacs, and neither one would back down.
hmm
And I don't think the world could force him into it either. So if Biden thought he was going to lose, he's got 4,000 nukes out of his hands and he's got serious nukes and he's got boomers out there loaded down with not just some of them have 14 18 missiles and even 20 missiles, but it's worse than that. They can have anywhere from 5 to 25 warheads on each missile depending on what the payloads are. So you can airburst one, say over the northeast, and that one missile could hit 16 different targets with 5 kiloton nukes. Yeah, it won't flatten New York. It'll knock out like a 3 square or 4 square mile in New York, and then of course contaminate the next 20 square miles around it. So everybody there is dead no matter what. It just doesn't do as much damage, but the radiation is still just as lethal. And then you have trade winds and stuff like that you have to worry about. I don't like thinking about things like that because I managed to get through the first Cold War. I thought this shit was over with, and here I am, 40 years later, 30 years later, and it's the same crap.
hmm
Why do we get these kind of leaders? How do we get these kind of leaders? Where are my peace loving life friends? Where are the witches? Where are the crazy people? Get rid of these bastards. Send them to hell or send them somewhere. Well, they probably got released from hell. I mean, Putin's a narcissist egomaniac. I mean, he could be Hitler. Well, maybe not. He hasn't. I was going to say he hadn't done those experiments, but as far as I know, he might have. No telling what's going on in Russia's
But
secret little
yeah, and
labs.
I don't think that he's as good of an orator as Hitler was. I mean, Hitler rallied a beaten up Germany that had just come out of World War One, and he rallied them within 4 or 5 years to not only re-hate the rest of the world, but he built the world's largest battleship illegally under the treaties they were on. He wasn't allowed to build that. He got that done. He got tanks built. He got an air force built. He got the entire country rallied behind him to go and explode all over Europe. He did this in what, 4 or 5 years? I don't think Putin has that kind of influence over his people. He's
Oh, he
good, but
doesn't.
he's not Hitler good.
No, actually, it looks like with his influence as people looks like has been getting less and less over the last few years, over the last decade or so. I think after his like fourth re-election, the people are kind of like, really, dude, we didn't vote for you. We don't want you anymore. Go away. We're tired. It's time to move on. And he just don't want to go. He can't give up the power. That's that ego in him. He just can't let it
It's
go.
gone to his head.
So
Absolutely.
he's stuck in this loop, and I don't know how you get him out of it. Other than somebody killing him, I don't know how you're gonna get him out of it. And maybe now that Biden seized all of his billionaire friends' money, that might change things. Somebody might put a hit on his ass. They're not going to tell him anything because what are you going to say? Well, Putin, man, come on, dude. They seized them. Well, didn't I help you make that money, man? I'll help you make some more. Don't say it again, dude, because you know what? There's a tree with your name on it. And if y'all don't know what that means, shame on you people. But no, it's not a tree hugger thing. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
It's a gallows. They will hang you.
Go listen to the Led Zeppelin song. You'll understand.
Gallows pole.
Yeah. We're in a precarious situation right now. I'm not exactly sure. Really. We're in a seriously precarious situation. I don't think the clock has been this close. So we got to be like, I haven't heard them update the end of the world clock yet, but I bet you we got to be like a tenth of a second right now.
We looked at it at
about
Tom show. It's 100 seconds from midnight.
That's it. 100 seconds. That's
That's pretty close.
It's pretty close, man. It's a minute and a half. Come on, people.
Yeah.
We really got to think about this because at this point, I don't want to die from a nuke or from radiation. But it's not a way that I want to go. Now, if I gotta go, by a nuke, I want to be right there under the damn bomb when it goes. So I'm like, just and flash.
Bright flash, searing hot pain for a second, and poof, you're ash. That's what I want.
And don't think it's going to be like, I know somebody wrote to me yesterday, said, it's going to be like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
These nukes, that wasn't even really a nuke. As far as we're concerned, and to these days, that wasn't even a real nuke. That was some little toy nuke.
It's like a firecracker versus an M80, Nagasaki and Hiroshima versus.
It's more like a firecracker versus 10 sticks of dynamite.
Yeah.
Jesus, these things, the ones you get today. So if they dropped like a 25 kiloton on New York, there wouldn't be nothing left. It would be completely flattened all the way around, and all through New Jersey and all through New York would be just completely contaminated. Those will affect
the island of Long Island. There's nothing.
Yeah, they'll affect anywhere from 20 to 50 miles in the initial burst, and then God knows where they're going to spread out from there.
Depending on the winds.
Yeah, depending on the winds, and it's a big, wide, thick radiation field. Remember, there's low yield nukes, but some of these other ones are high yield. Radiation doesn't go away for 10,000 years. Think about what would happen to our planet. Well, not even a planet. The planet's going to recover no matter what. We just won't.
Yeah.
Do you want to go live underground? What kind of species are we going to be? Ever seen what is that?
Star Blazers.
Yeah. What's that other movie that when the guy's time traveling, we turn it into weird animals? So the humans are food. And the other
monkeys? No, it's not.
No. I can't remember. It's time something or another. But it's H.G. It's one of H.G. Wells' stories, but I don't know why it just won't pop into my head. But anyway, he travels into the future and he finds there's two
time
forms.
Machine.
Yeah. There's two forms of the human race.
Yeah.
One's prey and one's food, and the one that was underground is the one that is the prey, and one is the predator.
The underground is the predator, and the ones above that look human are the prey. Yeah.
The delicious, young, little, looking good humans. We don't want to be there. Nobody wants to be there. That's not the kind of life I'm looking for. I'm like, get the hell out of here, people. I want to enjoy my life. I got time left on the planet. I'm comfortable. I'd like to have some, really fun time. It's Mardi Gras down here. Putin, why are you going to start a damn war doing Mardi Gras, dude? What the hell's wrong with you? Do you not respect Mardi Gras? We might come nuke you just because of that. The South's got nukes, Putin. You better watch your ass, buddy. We do have nukes. As a matter of fact, we even control like a half a dozen of the nuke submarines. You better be careful.
Yeah.
It's always been funny to me that the majority of the boomers all have southern states. or southern cities or something. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what that's about. Yeah, we're gonna blow somebody's ass up. It's I just know people. I am backing the truckers. Whoever just asked me that question, yes, I'm all for the truckers where you can look truckers. I back out 100% until it costs me at the grocery store, and then we might have to have a talk. I got to be honest with y'all. I got like I said earlier, I got friends that are truckers. I got friends that do logistics. I got friends all up in the fields. I got relatives too, and I'm all for y'all. Standing up for your rights and not have to do this, not have to do that. But again, if all of a sudden I start seeing ground meat, it's already double. If I see it double again, we're gonna have an issue. I'm gonna send the witch Trish after your ass. So you just better watch it. I'm being serious now. Y'all think I'm kidding around? Um, and I know the war is taken away from the DC truckers, which is sad. DC's got this big, there's a bunch of truckers in DC, big rally going on, and all you see on TV is it's Putin. Okay, don't take this the wrong way, Putin. I can only watch you so much, dude. Unless you drop a nuke on somebody's head, we pretty much know what you're doing already. Now, if you decide to go get stupid in NATO, that's a whole different ball game. You may not make it to the next day because I don't think he understands. Especially because you'd have to have control of Ukraine. So he's going to have to keep a big force there for a long time.
Yeah.
And Russia only got 186 million people. I think they say half or like 55% are over the age of 60. So that's not going to help you. And then out of the other 80 million and stuff, I think they say like 40 or 45 million of them are under the age of 12. So he don't really have a big fighting force he can pull from. And losing 40 million. Well, somebody's got to run the country. People got to do things. I mean, it's still the same thing. I said that's the age group that go to war. Is the same age group that run the things, make the businesses go by, and everything else.
Yeah, there's another stat too. I think that in Russia, it's a man to woman ratio. It's like 7-1, women versus men. There's more women than men, right. And in Ukraine, it's something like 8-9-1. There's 8 to 9 women for every man. There are a lot more ladies that over in both of those countries than there are fighting forces. And not that women can't fight, but Putin's a macho guy.
I was going to say you better watch it. Them Israeli girls will put ass kicking in you, buddy.
Yeah.
But really, they're the only. I mean, America's finally let women in the fighting force, not even in the Marines, but still, the Israelis are the ones that said, "Oh no, we'll show you what they can do, buddy." Mm-hmm. But Russia's in a really, it's just not a place. Now, China is in a better place because China, even though their army is not that much bigger than anybody else's on the planet, they do have a much bigger pool to pull. And don't get me wrong, half of their country is over the age of 62.
Right.
But they got 1.4 billion people though. Yeah, so they got 600 million. Even if let's say half is over and the other half is under, it still leaves them 300 million people. So it's not like maybe 300 eligible million people, and you got the other 700 million that can run the country. So that's a whole different ball game there. And they do have manufacturing abilities now, like the United States used to have. But one good thing about the U.S. is it kept most of its manufacturing intact. It just stopped doing it. So most of the factories are still there. Most of the businesses are still around in some shape or form or another. And it's not, for some reason, it's not all that hard for us to shift over. And then we've got other allies. But out of everything that's going on, America is one of the only really mostly self-sufficient countries in the groups.
I'll be right back. I got to hit the men's room, but I'll be back in a sec.
It's some Conquered Jay. It looks like the Darth Vader guy back there got him. It's interesting stuff. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, it's been a strange situation with all this. Everybody was arguing about who's going to attack, who's not going to attack, why they're going to attack, who's not going to attack, why. After a while, it all becomes jibber jabber. I listen to NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox. I even listen to BBC and 2 other outlandish ones from other countries. But in the end, it's all basically the same crap being said over and over and over and over. Putin's after something. He wants something. He says it's security. He wants to know he's going to have security, that he don't have to worry about NATO coming in all around him and surrounding him. Maybe that's true. He is paranoid, and maybe it's true. Why all of a sudden now he's worried about it, I don't know. I mean, I could understand if Trump was president, it would make him nervous. But Biden ain't going to attack nobody. Biden can't even find a microphone half the damn time. Maybe he's scared of Penske. What's her name? Jenny Penske. Maybe that's who he's scared of. But come on, man. He's not scared. He's not scared. That's why he took Georgia and Crimea under Obama, because he knew Obama wasn't going to do nothing about it, and he knows Biden's not going to do anything about this. But Trump, he was scared of. He was just scared of Trump. He just, what do you mean? Should we reelect Trump? I don't know about that either. Do you want to elect Trump if this is still going on? And what is it, 2024? And Trump gets back in, he's not going to put up with Putin doing that shit. He's just not going to do it. He's definitely not going to put up with Xi Jinping taking Taiwan. He'll have definitely an issue with that. Trump, for some reason, considered Taiwan a protectorate of the United States, even though we don't have a formal treaty. He did. He's not the only president. There's been other presidents that's considered. Clinton did too. Clinton considered Taiwan a protectorate. They would have went to war over it. We don't ever want to get our own people killed, but can we actually just let people do it? I mean, so you've had two crazy presidents. I mean, Clinton and Trump would have definitely went to war. Reagan would have too. But baby Bush, I don't know. He might have. Daddy Bush, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It depends. Obama, definitely not. Biden, you would say no, but he might do something ignorant and start a war inadvertently. Maybe fall asleep doing peace meeting or something. Who knows? This guy is a disaster. Well, he's a disaster. As a president goes, he's a disaster. And I wouldn't even be as worried, but he picked the weakest, most possible vice president he could have. There was lots of good people out there.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm going to pick her, man. She's going to be a VP. Yeah, she's an idiot.
The thing is with that is I don't think if he hadn't picked Camilla, I don't think he would have won.
Probably not. I'm not even sure if he did win.
Yeah, me either.
But I mean, regardless, she's just not a strong candidate. There was way better people out there. I know presidents don't like to pick really strong VPs because they don't like being outshined. I can understand that. Like Trump and Pence. I really can, but come on, people, they're going to take the country over if something happens to you. They should at least be capable.
Yeah.
Do you want? Okay. So we're done got into a war with Russia, and Biden has a stroke. Do you really want Kamala fighting against Putin?
Oh
my God, we're going to get our ass kicked
up there, dude.
We're going to get our ass kicked. Is what's going to happen to us? Come on. Oh my God, should be listening to bad advice because we got a bunch of idiot liberals over there. We'll just walk up and say hi. Yeah, blow half our fleet out the water. And what happens? What happens if the Republicans get in there and take over and impeach both of them, and then we're stuck with Nancy Pelosi? Yeah, I'm telling you, this is like when you read the Bible and they talk about the end times and we all get thrown into the thing. This sounds a lot like here, man. I'm getting a little worried. I'm just saying, it sounds a lot like that. But I've seen Armageddon a few times in my lifetime, so hopefully this is going to be another one of those cases. You mean if I was a betting man, I would bet this would escalate to a point and then de-escalate because nobody wants a nuclear war. The only thing to me is Biden is a little bit of a wild card because you don't know what Biden's going to show up. He's like schizoid, splitzoid. Is it going to be dopey Biden? Hi, I'm Mr. Biden. And what's 5 + 5? Or you get the sharp guy that used to be the senator shows up, and he's like, you know what, screw you, Putin. I will blow you off the face of the damn planet. Or you get just the dumb Biden that shows up and says, oh, look at the pretty red button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so he's a wild card in this. I mean, he's not totally unpredictable, but he's got some.
But even though he's a wild card, he's not feared.
He's not feared.
He's not feared. At
Because
least
I
Trump,
think
Reagan, Bush Sr., they were all feared by the other leaders in the world. They were afraid of those men. Period.
Well, Putin says he's not feared because he's colorblind. He can't tell it's a red button. He thinks it's a yellow button, so he just leaves it alone.
Yeah.
It's I'm just kidding, people. I was just teasing people. Calm down. In the end, I'm not sure where it's going to go. I'm hoping it will. It's going to be hard for Putin not to take the Ukraine, and part of that's our fault. So Biden gets up there and says, "I'm going to do this," and Europe's not saying anything. So, and we are going to do it, but you kind of backed him in a corner at that point. You should have just left it alone and said, "Okay, well, what are you doing?" And when he said, "Oh, it's just exercise," we should have left it at that. And then if he invaded, we should have been all shocked and awed and then levied everything we could against him because it would have been a sneak attack at that point. But we didn't. We got up there and played who's got the bigger you know what. And I'm not sure which one of you. And, both these guys got a Napoleon complex. So I don't know what to tell you about that. They do. Just don't ask me why. It just seems that they have really issues and they can't let go. Maybe you get too old. Sometimes you just can't let go. I don't want to say that about all old people because I know a lot of old people and a lot of them can let go. But these two guys don't look like they can. Well, actually, Marshall, you're right. Trump couldn't either. If Putin would have said, let me put it this way, if Putin would have told Trump what Putin told Biden, did we already be at World War III? Screw that, we'd already be there. He'd have definitely, oh, no, indeed not. Next morning, we'd have dropped 300,000 troops into Ukraine. Said, you want to fight? Come on, buddy, we'll fight. Yeah, because he was crazy too. That's the problem. We haven't had a sane president. I don't know when. I can only go from Kennedy up, okay, and all of them were crazy. All of them. It's not that some of them didn't do good shit.
As far as Truman, Eisenhower, but they all have been nuts.
It's like it's a precondition to be president in this country now that you've been whacked in the head. Who's the best president in my lifetime? See, I do this Reagan Clinton thing. If you combine the two, they made one really great president.
Yeah.
Reagan was a better president than Clinton for a couple of reasons, but because he did things that were left in the world, like he ended communism. He put people. He had certain meetings in space, so he's got a lot of first and north. Clinton came in and smoothed out some of Reagan's rough edges, smoothed out all that spending of the money, and he took a good presidency before him and turned it into an even better one with him until he had to go play with his wiki.
And he kept the economy steady.
He did.
He didn't tank the economy like Biden did.
Well, see, Clinton understood the economy like Trump did. He knew how to make it work. So there was two good presidents, and then after that, it's been shit ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I can say. Whether you support Trump, you don't support Trump, you support Biden, you don't, you support Biden, does not matter. Bush, whoever, it has been shit presidents since then. We went from two really good presidents to just, oh, well, you know what? Let's just screw the world up for the next 40 years. What do you mean Baby Bush was great?
He wasn't.
Okay. I will give you this. I will give you this about Baby Bush. He did have a rough start, and he did put China in their place when China knocked our plane down and wasn't going to send it back. And he said, if you don't send it back, we're going to come get it. I got to give him credit for that. And I got to give him credit for handling 9/11. The initial 9/11, everything after that, though, went some getting whacked out way. Why we had to go get war in Iraq and Afghanistan is beyond me.
Right.
And you know what? If we're going to do this kind of shit in the future, I do like the way Bush did. He went in and bombed them. Daddy Bush, he went and bombed everybody into the Stone Age, and then we didn't have to put any troops up. And they were like, yeah, we're going to surrender, man. Between your tanks and planes, we're done. Even though they had a 1 million man army, biggest one on the planet at the time. And so on those areas, I give him props. But everywhere else, he was just another idiot.
Yeah, but also Baby Bush, after he went into Afghanistan, when they went after Saddam Hussein, he said, if you use chemical or nuclear weapons, we're going to drop nuclear devices on you. And I don't think they actually did use nukes, but they somewhere along the way, a chemical weapon was used on our troops. Whether we blew up a depot and it hit our troops, or they actually launched one off, and he didn't follow up on his promise, and so he was perceived as weak from that point on.
We know Iraq used chemical weapons on Iran, so we know they had them. Now, tell me, everybody's like, well, they weren't mass destruction weapons. Well, let me tell you what, Saddam Hussein was a weapon of mass destruction. He killed 10,000. He flattened out and killed 3,000 to 4,000 Americans. Killed, God, I forgot how many Iranians, over 1 million. Altogether, man, its death toll was somewhere around 3 or 4 million. Yes, technically he was a weapon of mass destruction. And as far as biological chemical weapons, we do not allow that on our fucking planet. Beep, 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 except for America and China, apparently. And probably Russia. But for everybody else, it's a big no-no. So it's just one of those things we consider a big no-no for. Unfortunately, that's where we are. So, we kicked that out. Wait, what? Sorry, that's just sidetracked like a bird watching a leaf blow by or a worm wiggling around. You mean if Russia nuked Europe?
Oh, it's on. We definitely would drop nukes if that happens.
Well, don't forget, people. Europe's got its own nukes. UK's got nukes. France got nukes. Spain got nukes. They all got damn
Italy
nukes.
has them.
Yeah, they got about the same amount China does, 500, but that's plenty of nukes to just lay waste to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, remember, their nukes don't have to go intercontinental ballistic. Oh no,
They're
because
right next door.
some of their targets are less than 500 miles away. Them bitches be boom.
Yeah.
What boom? Your radar wouldn't even have time to go off. You'd be dead.
Early warning, no such
Yeah,
thing.
so, well, see, Russia can do it, but the problem for Russia is we watch this stuff all the time. So it's not. We'd have some warning. So even if we knew they were going to waste the area, we'd probably still get the missiles off the ground. We wouldn't get anything else off the ground, but the missiles would get off the ground, and they would definitely hit the. See, that's a problem with nuclear weapons. You know, they're going to kill everybody on both sides. And again, I do not want to be living in a damn underground cave, for the rest of my days. Well, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. The rest of y'all have no idea what's going to happen to y'all. I'm going to survive.
I'm in a pretty bad area where I'm at, but I guaranteed though, we have at this point, if it hasn't already happened, it will be soon. We've got every spy satellite we have looking down over that area right now. We've got every spy plane flying over there constantly.
And
so
still
we're
right
seeing
now,
whatever comes out of there.
And right now we still have the treaty with China with Russia and China that we can fly over their airspace to check where their stuff's at, just like they can with us. It's still up and viable. I don't know if it'll get thrown away. One of them got tossed out in Trump era. One of the other ones got tossed out, but the main one's still there. Satellites can pass over and take a look, which is cool, because either country knows when a satellite's coming over, so they just hide whatever the hell it is. And don't forget about the little Scandinavian countries. They all have air forces too. And little mini navies and little mini armies. Yeah, Russia's just in a bad spot. If Russia would just become a democracy, become a world player again, and do what's right, but they don't want to do it that way. I mean, Russia could get out there and do food and oil to the world and make themselves billions and make everybody in the country healthier and happier and wealthier. But they just, I don't know. Putin he was ex KGB. That's why I never understood why they let him in office in the first place.
We bullied his way up. That's how he got there.
Yeah, well, he was ex KGB. That's it. I know we got a few more minutes, guys, because we started a little bit late. We support all the truckers on the network. Yes, we do. We're happy to see them out there doing what they're doing. No, we're not going to hate on them or anything. What do you mean, COVID? Actually, Michael knows more about COVID than we do. He's at one of the trace cases, so you could check with him. I know the CDC lifted mask mandates for most everybody, including a lot of places. Like arenas and stuff like that. Like tonight, Reba McEntire's playing down here at the Coast Coliseum. No mask mandate whatsoever. No social distancing. None of that. Well, somebody said we would have a big second wave from Omicron whenever it got back out again. But so far, we haven't seen any of that down here. Now, Mardi Gras is going full blown now. So the French Quarter is officially blocked off, and no traffic through there except for people on foot. And so people will be getting naked and drunk and throwing beads at each other for the next, 5 days.
Fat Tuesday.
Yes, I'll have it running on. It'll play on one of our feeds. I'll let y'all know on one of our YouTube feeds or one of our Facebook feeds. It'll play. I usually let Mardi Gras, the London Gras and Mardi Gras, I usually let run 24 hours, so you can watch all the idiots in the French Quarter getting naked and shit, and trying to climb up poles that have been greased. It's just hilariously, stupidly funny. I don't go as much as I used to.
They grease the telephone poles.
Oh yes, all the light poles, they grease them because people crawl up there and climb up all drunk and acting stupid, get naked. And another thing, people, it's okay for women to go topless for the most part on Bourbon Street. Okay, nowhere else, but on Bourbon. Don't get fully naked because they're going to take you to jail. Okay, that'd be a friendly piece of advice for anybody going to the quarter, because you damn tourists don't realize you just can't come get naked all over the place. And whatever you do, if you find yourself in Metairie and the family parade areas, do not show anything at all. You can show some booby a little bit, but that's it, because they will take your ass to jail out there for that. It's family parades, people. They still don't frown on boobs. They don't care about that. You can show your boobs all you want anywhere you want. It's money. You don't care. In the old days on Bourbon Street, if you just rode down and you'd see boobs hanging out all over the place. So it's just part of the culture down here. So for the kids, they grow up with it, so it's not a big thing for them. For tourists, it's a little weird though. They're like, wow, really? But again, don't just go get naked because they're going to take you to jail. Yes, they will. And bon temps roulette, everyone. And let the good times roll. So come on down, have a good time, get drunk, have a good time. Go to the dungeon. Dungeon's a cool place to hang out. Pat O'Brien's. If you go to Pat O'Brien's, go, especially right now because the temperature is about 50 degrees outside. Go to the fire bar. There's a outdoor bar in the courtyard, and there's a big fire pit in the middle of it. It's a water fountain with a big fire rolling. It keeps everybody warm while you're out there hanging out. They got heaters all over too, but they also have 5 indoor bars in case you want something else. And they got a little bit of everything in there. They've got they got a piano bar in there if you want to listen to kind of that kind of music. They've got a rock bar in there. They got a little restaurant in there.
Wet Willies.
Yeah,
You
they
want
go. Oh,
those?
yeah. Well, you can get anything you want in Patos. So if you go down and ask for a '57 Chevy with stolen plates, it's a really good drink. Whatever you do, do not ask for the mint julep. Just don't ask for it. It's a trick drink, people. So a 57 Chevy with stolen plates, the stolen plates just means you want an extra shot. That's what the plate means. But the 57 Chevy is a good drink. Hurricane's also a good drink.
Yes, it is.
But the mint julep, so the first time I ordered one of these, he hands me a glass. It's clear liquor, and there's 2 ice cubes and a piece of mint. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I went, I drank about that much. I was like, son of a, it was 190 Everclear. So it's Everclear and a piece of mint leaf. That's what it is. And I think they put a little mint flavored liquor in there somewhere. But oh my god, I was making fun because I was sitting next to the fire, spitting in the fire. It was going.
Yeah, it's like rubbing alcohol.
It is. So don't just now. If you get a White Russian daiquiri, you can get the extra shot of Everclear in it. That's a good way because the daiquiris are about the big. And they come with the big ones come with like 3 shots of 151 in. So, but you can get an extra shot of. What's nice about these, you can sip on these for about an hour or 2, maybe 3 while you're walking around. Next thing you know, you are lit. You're just lit. Especially if you're a regular, just normal drinker, you are just lit. You're like, wow. But the Hurricanes are really good. But if you're not good with fruit liquor, stay away from them or fruity mixes because it's like 5 different liquors in Hawaiian punch basically. But you can get one that's this tall off the ground, this big around. It's probably about $300 now. It used to be $125. You get to keep the giant glass, and they give you these big giant straws, so like 80 y'all can drink out of it at the same time.
Oh God!
So I've never seen, most people I've seen drink them just barely got lucky, got back to the hotel.
Yeah,
but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a great place to hang out. The Dungeon though is a really cool bar. You got to walk through this little alleyway, and then you go into this little tiny bar. It's a tiny place, and it's always packed. And so I just warn you ahead of time if you're in there. By the way, don't even go to French Court if you don't like this part. So if you're in the dungeon, you're trying to go up to get to the bar, you're trying to go upstairs, you're going to get felt up half a dozen times. Whether it's on purpose or not, it's just going to happen because between the bar and the wall is 2 feet, and they're literally just people packed, people sitting, people packed in between the chairs, and people packed all the way to the wall. So you just got to kind of squish your way through it as you're going through. So if you're claustrophobic or you don't like people touching you, don't go. Matter of fact, just stay out of the French Quarter for that matter. Yes, we're doing an update, and then one more. Well, I don't know. Next time we'll do this next week. I'll bring Mike on to talk about the COVID and where it's at because we're getting ready to wrap up. But I love the. You mean Putin? Again, I'm hoping that this de-escalates. Maybe they can come to some kind of deal. Maybe there'll be a government change. Maybe there'll be a deal where the Ukraine will be a neutral country and they'll stay out of it, and that'll end this. I'm hoping, but Putin seems to want to prove something right now, so I'm not sure if he's through. And what I'm worried about is if the civilian death count starts going up, the world's going to start getting pissed. So it won't be enough.
Did you see any footage of a tank running over a civilian car?
I did. I seen that. I also seen some civilians.
That's already a bad start.
Yeah, I also seen some civilians with a rocket launcher flip 2 tanks.
That's good.
They were shot down a couple of helicopters. They've been getting around. But still, there's been quite a few. I've seen one old lady, she was just bleeding all over the place, carrying a machine gun, no less. There's been a lot of civilians hurt. But if it starts you start hearing there was 2 schools hit. So if all of a sudden you start hearing about kids getting killed, and it's not going to be fun for Putin. His own government will probably have to start coming on him down because then it's you threatening. And then Xi Jinping's got to watch because Xi Jinping's put his ass up with him, and now, if Putin just starts losing it, pings, it's a reflection on him. But while we're on this, if y'all have ever seen any of Notre Dame's predictions, there is a prediction about this. He does predict that Russia and basically Russia and China will jump on the United States and try to crush it, try to crush us out of existence. But somewhere along the line, because of our allies and us, China decides to join the winning side and they just wipe Russia out of existence, which may or may not be true. But by that point, there were several nukes that had been launched. But then he goes on to say in the prediction later on that man becomes a spacefaring race, a couple hundred years down away from that. So maybe it'll be worth it. Maybe it'll be what unites the planet. But something's got to give. Somehow or another, this big globe of 7.5 billion people have to unite under one, become one government, and it can't be a repressive one. It's got to be one that lets us grow. So I don't know how it's going to happen. The only way it seems to happen in these days is war. I mean, UK is not willing to take on any more countries. I don't think the United States really looking to add any new states, and most countries don't want to become a state of another country. They want their sovereignty,
They want their independence, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
if you, the way I predict it going is if it gets any further, if it does escalate, if you think back, anyone who's ever played the game Risk, if you try to take over Russia in the beginning moments of the game, you always lose. It is the hardest country in the game of Risk to control and keep and win the game. Now, once you build up some speed and momentum and you've got a lot of troops later in the game, middle of the game, yeah, you might be able to hold it. But Russia is huge. It's a large country. It's the largest country on the planet. There's vast, unpopulated areas, and we could just easily drop troops into these places and they would never know we were there. So it's going to be difficult on them to go any further than just the Crimean Peninsula.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They're stretching themselves with invading Ukraine with 160,000 troops there. That doesn't leave them, and with the rest of the deployments, doesn't really leave them much of a backup. So the problem for Russia is yes, they would have to resort to nukes pretty quickly. And then remember, guys, Russia's been testing nukes for the last 10 years. So far, only one of them managed to get off the launching pad, and it defected and blew up in the atmosphere. So I don't know even how many of their missiles are actually actively ready to go. They say they got 3,750 warheads on missiles. Now, are they going to work? That's a whole. You know what? That goes for us too. Yeah. These arsenals are old. There's not. There are new missiles being built, but the majority of these missiles are old. So nobody's got a guarantee when they go to launch them.
It's not like just
fireworks when they get wet.
Not just the old. All of our missiles, except for the ones on the boats, the submarines, all of our missiles are pretty much locked to a specific land location. He's got trucks, hundreds, maybe thousands of trucks with nuclear weapons on them that can show up anywhere.
Yeah, he does. He has mobile rocket launches, and those are more for Europe than they are for us, though. But still,
right? But they can show up anywhere. He
can roll up on the border. Yeah, he could just be rolling up in there, no problem at all. And those are mid-range nukes, and still, man, 2,000-mile nuke. I mean, that gets you well into Europe. So for my European friends, y'all be particularly careful. Pay a lot of attention to what's going on over there. Normally I'd say the U.S. has your back. I'm not sure what the hell we got right now. So I'm hoping if time comes, Biden will do what he's got to do. I mean, we have a huge Navy. We have a decent Army. Our countries. We're the only nation on the planet right now that has 5 decades of continuous fighting. That's. I remember when one of Xi Jinping's admirals that had retired and defected and was living in the UK. He's talked about. He said, we used to tell our first leader and Xi Jinping. He said, Japan always regretted waking the sleeping giant. They said if they would have left America alone, they would have won World War II, and Germany and Japan would have came out much stronger. He said it was a bad mistake, and he said it's the same thing for us. He said they can field 50 years of troops. He said these people have been nonstop fighting. He said they are used to fighting. They know how to fight. They're not going to hesitate to kill people. They're just going to kill us. He says it's not going to be like our people who are going to hesitate because they've never killed anybody before. And all it takes is that 1 second of hesitation and you're dead, especially when you're fighting, in high-speed fights. I mean, you're dead. And that's the problem. And our troops are trained for it. They're going to go out and they're going to fight. And our leaders are going to be out there in the field because they're going to be veterans. And it's going to be a whole different battlefield for them. And it's not just us. The Aussies have been there with us. The UK's been there with us. France has been there with us. So all these people have been nonstop fighting. They're ready for a fight. They're like, you really want to fight? We'll have a fight.
On Europe. There are so many American troops in Europe. We have it locked down. Unless he drops nukes on us, he's not going to take that over either.
No, and they got their own troops, and that's the thing. As a matter of fact, the what was it? One of the Britain's new aircraft carrier had to escort a submarine out of the way the other day. Actually, it didn't. The sub was shadowing the aircraft carrier, and the other ships ran interference until the carrier was clear. So they would have sunk that freaking submarine. It tells you right there. So would have been it'd have been raining torpedoes and depth charges on it like it never knew. It's weird because you don't see the onboard depth charges anymore. They must be released from the sides or something now,
Or underneath, yeah.
or underneath. I mean, yeah, it could be just directly released. And I noticed, we built a bunch of new sub tenders. I mean, a bunch of new minesweepers. So people, I don't think this is classified. So the minesweeper is very interesting. They're a wooden hull with a fiberglass over them, fiberglass resin. So there's no magnetic nothing to them. They can bump right into the damn thing, and unless it's got a push, unless it's a contact, and be fine. And but now they have sensors that can see them and all now, so they can right up to them. Yeah. As long as it's not as long as they don't touch them, as long as it's not magnetic field, they can cut them loose, let them float off and blow them up, or they just blow them up right there. But you got to be careful when you're in a mine. If you start blowing up one, you may blow up them all. No shit and tell them what will happen after.
Yeah. And the bulk of those minesweepers it's a single hull. It's not pieces. It's one hull, and they're built in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, they're great. Peter Pumpkin Eater, doofus ass. No, actually, a lot of ships are built in the South and on the West Coast and in the South. There are in the East Coast, but that's still the South. That's Virginia.
Norfolk,
yeah. That's well. Oh, you mean why do we don't feel more ships in the North? Because we don't care if the Yankees get killed. What the hell are you talking about? We don't care, man. Kill them bastards. We're still hating them from way back, man.
Yeah, we still owe them an ass kicking from the Civil War.
Yeah, they say, look, let them get blasted off the damn planet. We don't care. No, it's mainly because the southern states the seaports are clear and open. There's no winter problems. There's no ice or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's a couple of ports in New York and there's Maine and places like that. We have cold. We have winter ports and summer ports, but the South is just we have a lot of deep waters and one of the reasons that so many of our militaries have top secret covert designing facilities down here is they're Southern is 7 times less likely to sell information than anybody else in our country. It's some stupid loyalty left over from God knows where. Who knows? But it's actually a fact. I didn't even know they did research like that. I found that out about 3 years ago when I found it out. Yeah, it was a research group that the organization came out and talked about how they what places went and what. Also, the reason why it's in Western California up against the Eastern California and Western Nevada is because that particular area right there is one. That's hardly anybody out there, but the rest of the people around there are very, very, very religious and very, very, very patriotic. So they're also less likely to say anything. Yeah, but they've learned in certain other parts of the country, people are very willing to share our information. So it's just one of the things. No, it's not so much that they're in the north. It just happens to be around certain types of cities.
Well, it's also greed, and I've noticed this because I've gone to school in Savannah, and I've gone up and down the East Coast. I've gone to school in Connecticut. If you start down in, like, say, Florida, Georgia, every hour or so you go north, and George Carlin talked about this. Every hour or so you go north, the people get ruder and greedier every couple of hours. And it's a weird phenomenon, but you stop in on the long way in Georgia, and you stop at a toll booth. They greet you. They say, "Hi, how are you? Have a nice day. Thank you very much." You get to New Jersey, it's like, "What do you want? Get the hell out of the way. Give me your money." It really is like that.
Yeah. Well, I know we got to get out of here, but yeah, guys, I know y'all might have missed. We talked a good bit about Russia and China and all them in the beginning of the show, but all I can tell you is keep your head down, be safe, pay attention to what's going on.
Stay inside.
Be ready to. You might have to do something, move or something. Know your evacuation routes. Know where safe points are. So what I mean by that is, see, where I live, I know where a lot of things are. So I know where places where I can get electricity, water, food, fuel, stuff like that. I'm gonna give y'all something. I shouldn't say this on the air because I know how many people listen to this show, but so cell phone towers are a great source of air conditioning and fuel because they all have direct energy connections coming in, but they usually have a secondary, like a butane connection or a gas connection or something like that. They'll also have onboard air conditioners in there. They'll have their own source of power, and they also have communication systems. So it allows you to hear and to transmit if you need to. But it also gives you secondary things like generators, air conditioners, stuff like that that you might need somewhere else at a different facility. And there's lots of them around the United States, especially along interstates, but they're also in other places. So they can be used as a backup facility for a lot of things. And then, like I said, most of them have secondary backup power on site. A lot of them have butane generators and stuff like that, but there's usually a supply that will keep it running for up to at least a week or two. Some of the bigger ones down here will run up to 90 days on its own. Yeah, that's why some towers made it through Katrina and some didn't, because a lot of them lost their power supply and their backup supply, but the ones seemingly running on butane or propane actually stayed up and running. It's a weird thing. Ones that you get the pads blown off, yeah. But I mean, this is all stuff to think about. Also, too, if you're in Europe and you're on your cell phone, you start hearing this particular squeal coming through. That means there is enemy radar in the area, or if it's not enemy area, it's one of America's stealth planes or British stealth planes flying through. But it will cause. We accidentally found out about 14 years ago that cell phone towers can track stealth planes. Yes, I wonder how America felt about that shit.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, and it was actually some kids in Scotland figured it out. Americans were flying not B-1s, they were flying X-117s back and forth through these two bases, and every time when someone get near, the tower would send out this weird signal, or you could hear the pilot sometimes on your phone.
Oh,
but it let you know it was there, and it was letting you know it was there, so they were like freaked out about it. And I don't think there was anything they could correct either. So I guess you have to fly at high altitude.
And that's probably why we attacked Afghanistan, because they didn't have cell phones back then.
Yeah. We'll just take them out like we did in Iraq. So one of the first things we took out the cell phone towers. We took out all our tracking towers, anything that could shoot our planes out. It took us less than 30 days. And think about this: they had all state of the art Russian equipment, and in less than 30 days, they couldn't even find our planes anymore. They couldn't stop our planes from flying anywhere. I mean, it was just we could bomb at our will anytime we wanted. And that's what would happen to Russia. After about 45 days of our allies and us bombing their radar facilities and all, they would have no way and nowhere. Most of their planes would be destroyed. Even if China got involved, most of their planes would be destroyed as well. China's planes just suck. They tried to design some after Oz and some after Russia, but their stealth plane was great. It was pretty stealthy, by the way. It had a bigger than normal radar signature, but it's still kind of stealthy. But its engines ran so hot it gave up these big, huge plumes of smoke. So it didn't matter if it had radar. You could see the freaking thing for miles.
Or IR, yeah.
But I'll tell you, the biggest advantage America has in the air than anybody else does, we can kill you before we see you.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else can.
We've got planes that have been flying since the 80s, F-116s, F-118s. They can shoot a missile 5-6 miles out and hit a plane before that plane's radar knows our planes are in the air.
And from what I've heard, there's several warehouses in that area for doing fully drones. I'm sure China making them too, but China and Russia haven't fielded drones like we have yet. I've never seen them fly any big ones like we did. Oh yes, people, we will freaking field 1 million drones. They want each one would carry a nuke as far as we know, or any kind of bomb.
Predators, they can carry a 500-pound bomb on them.
Yeah, just nobody's in there to get killed. They just roll in there. They're like the kamikazes of World War II, except there's no pilot.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't have to survive. Yes. But anyway, I know we got to get out of here. We got way off sidetracked. Again, for the truckers, keep it up, man. I hope y'all do it. Just don't, we don't want to starve to death. So don't get too crazy, but, do what you got to do. Jackie. Oh, you mean strategic cities? New York would probably be, in the old days, New York would have been the first city destroyed. It may still be today, but what you'll see is
a huge travel hub, so it's definitely going to get hit.
Yeah, it's going to get hit. So New York, D.C., Maryland, they're all done. They're done. Miami's done. Atlanta's done. Chicago's done.
Grotto, Connecticut, it's a big sub base. Yeah. That's done.
Yeah, that's all done. Pretty much all of them down the East Coast, Virginia, Norfolk's done. Pretty much the whole East Coast, except for maybe Georgia gets hit a couple of times. So
Kingsland, Georgia, the sub.
That's all done. Like I said, Chicago's done. Now, some of the heartland might survive, but there's some pretty big bases in the heartland, so they're going to get hit too. So that's all fried out. New Orleans, oh yeah, New Orleans getting hit. It's the mouth of the Mississippi River. Shit, they're going to
Yeah.
close that thing down in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Savannah's going to get hit. Savannah's got
Yeah.
two of the biggest bases. There's a what's the I can't remember the name of the base. That's the big one down there, but that's the main hub for the Eastern Seaboard operations for the Army, their air operations and moving guys around. So yeah, there's a lot of cities on the East Coast that are going to get whacked right away.
Now, you mean now once you get west of Texas or west of Austin, it changes some. A lot of the cities over there won't get hit because they're not considered. Phoenix will probably get hit, but what you'll have to watch out for in the desert places is more of where the missile silos are. They'll be trying to take them out.
Yeah.
So that's where you'll probably see the targets get hit. But most of the big cities, until you get to until you really get to California, most of them will probably be spared. But Los Angeles is gone, San Francisco is gone, all the West Coast is going all the way up to Vancouver. That's all gone. There's military bases and ports all along there. That's all gone. The population. So what they'll do in less than an hour, the United States will go from 300 million to about 60 million. Because when you hit the West and East Coast, that's where the majority of people live.
Yeah.
There's 60 something million living on the Northeast Coast, and then there's another 60 million living. Yeah, so you'll be down at least 150 million people right off the bat. That's in an hour. And then, contamination will kill another 50 million. So we have about 150, but they'll be all spread out. God, we'll have no communications because EMP pulses takes out all the communications.
Any electronic device that's on will be destroyed.
Yep, will be wiped. It'll be wiped out completely. So you should always have backups of everything. Keep your lights off. If you live in an area, there's a nuke coming, you need to turn everything off, cover everything you can, find a deep dark hole to put your ass in, and hope the nuke ain't coming within 20 miles of you. And then when you think about it, you should always know where your wind's coming from too. But what's important is don't just go get out on a highway, because everybody who was out on the highways, cars are now dead.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there and they're not going to start again.
Roadblock.
Yeah. So you're not going to be able to get out like that. So you're going to have to really think about the way you're going to do this.
If you have a motorcycle, you'd probably be more mobile. But
your bikes, like stuff like that, or ATVs, stuff you go around everything on, get on neutral grounds and stuff. But remember, the people that survive are going to be not you want to mess with.
They're not going to be friendly, and if you don't have a gun on you, you are food. You will be food. I mean, I don't care how gross it sounds, but if something happens to the food supply, what's got nuked or all the country's just been destroyed, what do you eat? You find a deer, you shoot it, you kill it. You see a human that's in your territory, you don't know, you don't like it.
I'm going to feed Michael Angley to him. That'll keep him fed for a while.
Yeah.
He's like Bigfoot, man. We'll feed his ass too.
Yeah,
but guys and girls, I know we got to get out of here. I know the Quantum Leap's been on for a while, but it's okay if we're running dual shows. I want to tell everybody thanks for hanging out. Poor Ben, we wanted to get him in get his opinion on what was going on tonight. I don't know what happened. Michael was the one who been bugging me to do the show, but really and truly, be careful out there. We're coming out of COVID now. See, the cities are coming back alive. Everything down here is coming back alive. There's conferences going on. There's concerts going on. So things are really starting to turn around. So take your time. If you don't feel comfortable not having a mask, wear your mask. Don't let people bully you. But get out and enjoy yourself. But don't let this new strife pile on top of the strife we already have. Okay, yes, the Ukraine thing is a disaster and it's bad and it's harmful, but it's not our disaster.
Yet.
Not even
it's not affecting us yet.
Yeah. It will affect us price-wise and gas and some foods and stuff.
Yeah, down the road.
Not enough that it should make a difference. We're talking like 50 cents, maybe 20 to 50 cents a gallon gas, maybe 5 or 10 cents, and stuff like bread and all might go up. But for the most part, that's what we're going to see. So as long as we don't get involved in this just should be less strife. So don't worry about it. And if you worry about we're getting involved, don't worry about it because you don't know if we're or we're not. So don't make yourself crazy. Know that we might possibly get involved, but there's nothing you can do until we do get involved. You can make preparations if you want to. I know all of my survival friends are freaking out right now. They are packing everything up. See, I've got because every hurricane we get these, I've got 2 cases of them MREs sitting on my floor, and they're dual. Each MRE is a dual case, so that's probably 100 days of food. Yes, people, I got guns, just so y'all know. I got food, I got guns, I got communication equipment too. I've been thinking, man, I should mount me some 50 calibers, some on each one of my corners of my house, make them automated.
On your house? No, 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 no. Take out the bright lights in your Camry and replace them with 50
Oh,
caliber.
I was thinking.
With belt
I
trucks
was
in the
thinking
truck.
about. I was actually thinking about a 20 millimeter Gatling that popped out the top of the bed.
Yeah, that'd work.
Say what? Say what? Wait. Say you're gonna take what? Wait, hold on. Can I talk to my car right quick, Camry? Kill. But anyway, guys, it's been fun talking to everybody tonight. We're gonna get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Centralist. Jay McNicholas was with us with night. He's from over there with the crazy people at Church of Mavis. If you don't know who the crazy people is, that's Jeffrey Pritchard. He's crazy. He's a Floridian. That should tell you right there.
He's an ex-Georgian Floridian.
Yes, that's even worse. I'm telling you, I live in the South, people. Let me tell you what, Georgian and Floridian is a weird SOB there. Well,
I lived in both states. I know.
Yeah, they had several shows down here that feature what they call the Florida man. They even have songs of Florida because Florida people do just crazy, stupid shit.
Yes, they do.
They do shit down there that nobody else does in any other states, man.
It's in the water.
And then they got another segment there, only something a white man would do. And then they got another segment about as a black guy does it, but he cracks me up. He said only a white woman would do something this crazy. You know, one of them, this big Rottweiler's out there trying to eat people. She walks up, oh hey baby, what you doing? I'm gonna take you home and feed your child. It's like dog's trying to kill him, right? It's like what the f is going on here? And white women are crazy. What can I say? All women are crazy. We're not going to discriminate. All women are crazy. I love all of y'all, but y'all are crazy. And as far as men, we've been crazy for longer than y'all been alive. So what does it matter? Yeah. Remember, we were Adam's bone. We came from Adam's rib. Oh no, y'all came from Adam's rib. That's right. I apologize, Adam.
You got that wrong, son.
We men are all knowing. All what the hell? Don't be writing me stuff like that. What are you trying to get me in trouble with the ladies that listen to this show? Get the hell out of here with that shit. They just wrote this big thing about how men are all knowing, all seeing, all caring, all loving.
Only if we got some red meat.
Hey, Putin's a man. Let's just think about that. Xi Jinping's a man. Who's the most prolific killer? You mean that started a war? Oh, that's a tough one, man. Probably Hitler, but that's a tough one.
12 million non-combatants killed, 6 million Jews, 6 million others. Yeah, that's a lot of dead people. 53
million total.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of people. It's a world war. That's why they call it a world war because, a lot of people die and a lot of countries are involved. But anyway, I'm getting out of here. Y'all have a good evening. Stay out of trouble. For all my European friends, keep your eyes open, but be safe. And don't let this make you crazy. There's nothing any of us can do at the moment at all. And you never know. Putin might smell the coffee and wake up and do the right thing. I got it. See, it's hard for me because I look at Putin a little differently than people do. Look, he's a manly man. That's what Putin is. That's his whole bravado. He's a manly man. And I can understand his point of view, but he's got children. He cares about his kid. I heard him talk about his daughter on many occasions.
He's got a couple of daughters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But this one particular one. So he cares about his kids. He don't want to see anything happen to them. And he doesn't want to start the war. Now, if you back him in the corner, some bitch is going to launch a nuke at you.
Yeah.
But there's other ways to handle this. Yes. Well, the CIA never could get rid of Castro. I mean, he lived in Cuba. He's 90 miles from us. We couldn't even get rid of him. I mean, come on. And y'all wanted to go kill Putin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what you do if you kill Putin and make it look like Xi Jinping ordered it. Oh, that would take care of our problem right there.
Yeah.
Like kill two birds with one stone, my friend.
Right.
And that'd be a world war just between them two. The rest of us would just sit back and watch.
You sit back and watch the flames, and then come back later.
Why do I think so many countries hate the United States? What countries? Most people want to come here.
Yeah,
why do you think
we hate us? It's the government.
We have the biggest amount of people want to come to a country than anybody on the planet.
Yeah,
it's just we don't always want people here. My question's always been the same. Why do we always got to take the crappy people? Why can't we take the good people too? Yeah, well, I mean, come on, college educated. What is good for the United States is a lot of people come here from other countries to go other worlds. What an idiot! Come from other countries to go to college, and a lot of them stay. About half of them stay. About half of them go back. It's a good. Well, America pays good. We have good health care. Good. if you're not dirt poor, we have really great health care.
If you're not dirt poor.
Yeah.
And the only time we did get the good guys is Operation Paperclip after World War II. We got all the good German scientists, but most of them were full blown Nazi war criminals. That why would you want that? Well, most of them helped our science programs tremendously.
Well, y'all can have that crappy Canadian health care or that UK health care. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
You got to wait 6 months just to get a transplant. Come on, man.
Ugly teeth and all wear the same glasses. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of weird. No, I love my Canadians. I'm telling you, what's going to happen is we're going to annex Canada sooner or later. It's coming. If pink shorts don't stop sucking up on Xi Jinping's ass, we're gonna take them.
It's going to be USA light.
Some country. Well, they've already got these flags now made. Canadians got them too. Americans too, where the two flags are sewn together. And some people say, "Oh, well, Canadians hate it." No, I know a lot of Canadians. They don't really hate America. A lot of Canadians like to live down here. A lot of them just like to come down over and jump the border and then go back in the evenings. But it is crazy in our country. A bunch of gun-toting freaks. But don't act like you Canadians don't have guns. That's bullshit. That's when people tell me, well, UK people don't have guns. My ass, people in UK own guns. Y'all don't own as many handguns as we do, but y'all got shotguns and rifles at the yin-yang.
Oh, yeah.
We ain't the only ones out there packing. That's what would make it so hard for any invading country to come here. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're up north, down south, rural areas, everybody's going to have a gun.
There's a gun behind every blade of grass.
People tell me,
said that?
Yeah, people tell me, well, cities don't have guns. I said, well, I know a lot of parts of cities that have a lot of guns because they got a lot of bad neighborhoods. I was born and raised in the city. I got a gun. Martha goes everywhere. I got 21 round clip, 9mm with hollow points, and she would love to shoot you in the ass. There's no qualms about shooting you. I don't use ordinary hollow tips. I use exploding tips. So there's a little inside the hollow point. There's a little trigger in there. When it hits you, it doubles the size of the smash. So instead of being this big around, when it opens up, it's about this big around. Yeah, we'll rip a hole through you like you wouldn't know. That's what they're for. I mean, these aren't hunting guns. These are for personal up close contact. And I do carry my gun with me. Matter of fact, when the good ones were in town a couple of weeks ago, I actually introduced John to Martha. I said, John, this is Martha. Martha, this is John. And because she goes almost everywhere with me. And she'll be, when I go next time I go to LA, she'll be out there with me. I just like having her with me. And I live in open carry states, so I don't have to really worry about it. I can take her anywhere I want to go, and all throughout the whole South except for Florida. Florida, I got to have a permit. I got to carry concealed for some reason. I'm like, what? See, I think you'd want to see the damn thing. I like my gun being on my side. People look at it and compliment it and say it's pretty. I've had a lot of people tell me thank you for wearing your gun. I was in Walmart when they had 4 different people in line tell me thank you for wearing your gun. I feel safer. I'm thinking,
they're equalizers. They absolutely are. I mean,
yeah, but I'm thinking, do they think I'm a cop? I mean, because I could be a mad maniac as far as you know. I'd be ripping the thing out, blowing up a Walmart.
Yeah.
But, I don't. And if somebody was in there with one and did it, I would shoot their ass. And I'd be too. I'd say, I'd shoot them left-handed just to make it fair. Pow!
Yeah.
A friend of mine was laughing about that. I said, dude, that's special forces. I'd shoot that damn thing upside down if I want to. It's a target pistol I got. It's made for shooting in competition. So, and I got a 34 round clip for it if I want to get serious. Got a couple of them, so I just it's like having a little mini machine gun.
Yeah, if you can pull that trigger fast enough.
I'm telling you, other guys, y'all got to go watch these videos on TikTok and YouTube of all these country people in rural areas that are building their own like Gatling guns. They are building some badass Gatling guns. Technically, a fully automated weapon in this country is illegal. And you have a special permit to have a fully automated weapon. Well, you can buy an M16, by the way, and if you know how to do it, you can make it fully automated.
Yeah, it's only like 2 or 3 pieces.
Yeah, they used to be in old days. They just filed this one piece down, but now they actually remove a piece now. But
right.
It's actually a piece in a gear, a piece in a clip, whatever the hell it is. But
it's like a piece in a spring. It's not difficult if you know what you're doing.
Oh, no, it's not. And you can get the pieces, but to have it fully automated, you got to do a special permit. Don't get caught with fully automated anything. You're going to jail. Oh yeah, you're going to jail. You might not get out of jail for a while either. I've got a 12 gauge shotgun. I got a riot control shotgun. It's 8-shot. It's legal, and it's only it's legal.
Mine holds 10.
Well, it's only this long, man. I mean, you can only
Oh,
hold so much. So it's only it's a riot control. So it's only it's a it's a half inch above legal above the legal size. That's what got what was the guy oh, they killed his kid, they killed his dog up there in the woods. The FBI, I can't remember his name now. It's he had made a gun and sold it to this guy, and it was 1/8 of an inch over the legal size. But they just seen it and said it wasn't legal, so they went after the guy for selling illegal shotguns. And I think they killed his wife, his kid, his dog. He lived, and then he sued him. He took him to court and sued him, and because he said it was 1/8 inch over, and it was 1/8 inch over, so it was legal.
that's all it takes.
And but I mean, he lost all kind of family members for it. It was just insane. I mean, he was up in the woods, and the FBI. That's the second time. Now, just before that was what was the one in Texas, where the FBI went in and killed everybody.
Yeah.
FBI was having some bad luck for a few years there
All you
with
got, if
different
they do the right
cases.
research, they wouldn't be doing this stupid stuff. My shotgun is 100% legal. It's a Remington 870. It's I think a 23-inch barrel. I put a choke tube magazine on it, extension, so the magazine holds 9. It's the 10 is the limit. I can put 1 in the chamber, so that's 10 total. And it's old enough that to the point now when I rack the slide back forward, if I'm holding the trigger, it goes off. So I don't have to hold the trigger. I don't have to pull the trigger. I just rack the slide back and forth.
Yeah,
It's
I tell you what I
perfectly legal, 'cause
miss.
it's broke.
I used to have a 33rd rifleman, and I loved that gun. It had a little clip on the lever action, so if you put the clip out when you squeeze it closed, it would fire the bullet. It would pull the trigger for you. So you could just say it looked like that in that TV show. It's a badass little thing. Well, I mean, 33 is only good for about 90, 100 yards, but still, it's a nice little gun to have, especially like in a bush fight or something. But anyway, guys, enough about that. Y'all need to know about guns. They're not coming to get y'all. If they do come to get you, we'll tell you everything we need to know, everything you need to know. But for now, be with your family. Enjoy coming out of the COVID crisis in most of the countries around the world. Have some fun. Don't get crazy, but enjoy it. I mean, yes, have some fun, but not stupid fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Be
and
smart
again,
about it.
try not to let this stuff going on in Ukraine to weigh down on top of the shit you've been going through for the last 2 years. It's not really. I mean, for my European friends, I'm sorry because y'all shouldn't have been buying gas from Russia in the first damn place. So that's going to hurt y'all. But I mean, Trump told y'all then not to buy it, and he was right, wasn't he? One thing that Putin's proven right now is a lot of shit Trump said. Putin's proven that he was right, and it's got to be driving the Dems crazy. Carly, no, I didn't vote for Trump either time. Nope, I didn't vote for him the first time. Matter of fact, if y'all ever want to hear my opinions on Trump, there's on News on the Flip Side. I used to host with Stephanie Benetti for the first the first 12 months or first 14 months of the election. Go listen to what I was saying about Trump. And ain't no doubt what you think, but I have to give when people do right things like Clinton and stuff. When people do right things, you got to give them credit for the shit they did. And Trump did. I mean, we had a stable economy. The world was calm. Nobody was getting crazy. Even Kim Jong Un shut up and sat down.
Yes, he did.
So Trump told him twice, "I will come for you." And that was it. He just said, "Okay, that's enough of that." China was being behaved. They weren't talking about taking Taiwan. None of that stuff was going on. The country was growing at unprecedented rates it hasn't seen since the late 90s. I mean, late 80s, early 90s. I mean, Trump had 3.3 GDP. The best Obama ever had was 1.4. And I see Biden ain't doing no better. So, I mean, there was a lot of good things to the guy. He just, you know what he should have did? He should have ran the country from his office and let Pence do the speaking. Or they should have suspended him from the freaking Twitter account 2 years in.
Yeah, that should have been cut off immediately. But, again, who cares if he says something that's abrasive to somebody?
That's true.
Who wants to pay $5 for a gallon of gasoline versus a guy who's got orange hair and says something that might offend some one idiot that he doesn't like?
If it keeps going like this, we're definitely going to see a change, and he's got a much better chance of winning now than he did before. Because last I checked, Biden's approval ratings were so far in the dirt. Oh, look, here's the one right here. CNN, brutal poll numbers for Joe Biden. So I've been watching CNN. They keep trying to say, oh, it's only 42%. He's not in the 30s. Everybody else thinks like 36%, right? So what do they consider brutal?
15?
only only 39% describe Biden as having any success. So 39% approval rating. And wait, that's amongst Dems.
They're
Amongst
lying to themselves.
amongst independents, he's at 12%. Amongst Republicans, he's like 4%. So his overall approval rating is probably around 33%. But amongst Dems, he is at 39%. And yeah, and this poll was taken by NPR and PBS, so you know this was a liberal leaning poll big time. And 57% of Americans said his first year in office was a complete and utter failure.
Absolutely. So it's his second year. It's already starting off that way.
And then the liberals on the upper East Coast say that 80% said he had a successful first year. I don't know what Dems that are.
Whatever they're smoking, they need to share it with the rest of us.
And see, that just tells you right there. That's what's wrong with America. They cannot admit that their president is a complete and utter joke. See, that's the problem. Neither side can anymore. You have to admit, all right, you screwed up. We took it, but we screwed up. I mean, this guy sucks. Afghanistan was a joke. I mean, the economy's a joke. The Ukraine thing's a joke. I mean, he's just what he is. Prince Harry, you can't go back to the UK. They don't like you over there anymore. They want you gone. Anonymous has declared war against Russia. Oh shit! This is going to drive Putin batshit crazy.
Anonymous, the Facebook group?
No, Anonymous, the hacker group.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, they declared war against Russia, starting a cyber war. They're gonna just, oh man, Russia, you just might as well just, oh Jesus, these guys are nightmares. Yes. But anyway, we're gonna go now before I get started on something else. I want to tell everybody thanks again for hanging out with us crazies tonight. We will be getting back to regular news, and we'll get to show more in the news orientation like it usually is with certain clips and stuff like that. But I just wanted to come in and I really wanted to talk about the war a little bit and about the truckers a little bit. And, just let people know, hey, we are listening. We are here and we are listening and we are paying attention. And we will bring you more news because I noticed at least we're going to talk about it for what it is. Whereas, of course, NBC's got it slanted. Oh, well, that's what's causing all the food problems. No, it's not. And Fox is all like, well, that's complete morons. Well, yeah, it's somewhere in between. But we're going to bring you the in between is what we're going to do. We don't really need to lie about the news. It's not so much opinion with us. It's just news. We reported the war for what it was. It's a war between the Ukraine. We're the only people I've heard yet that say, yes, it's going to affect us this way, but it's not this mind-crushing, killing thing that we need to be crying every night about, at least not yet. And so, knowing that, people should go on with their lives. Pay attention, watch your news, listen to us, but go on with your life. Don't, because look, people, life is short. The most you can hope for, if you're really healthy, you might get 90 years. Most people are going to get somewhere in their mid-70s to early 80s, and that's it. And a lot of y'all listening tonight are already closer to that side than the other side. So
yeah, I'm 20 years away from 75.
So it's time to start thinking about those kind of things, people. And I know Biden's going to cure cancer. I hope he does. I would love that to be his legacy. I'd love to be any president's legacy. I don't give a shit to independent, Democrat, Republican. I don't care who it is. I agree. Anyway, on that note, we got to go. Thanks again for listening to the Centralist with Joe and Jay tonight. It's the double J's. We don't know what happened to Mike. I think somebody beat him up. And poor Ben, he sounded like he was getting astro probe. So I'm not sure. He was like,
I'm choppy all over the place.
I'm Benito. It was a strange thing, but anyway, again, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to catch us, be sure to come see Jay on Friday night with the Church of Mavis and Jeffrey Pritchett. I'm here every Saturday with the Gray Zone with what's her name again, Michelle DeRoche, and so we'll be here tomorrow. And I'll be back on UFO Cover, but not for a couple more weeks. I know I've been off, and I know I've been getting a lot of emails. I have been off for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and about 12 weeks, and I'm gonna be off for about another 8 weeks. My other company has been really, really busy, and I want to give my guests all the attention I can when I'm doing shows with them. So I'm coming in like at 5 minutes before showtime, sometimes 20 minutes after showtime. I don't want to have guests waiting for me and stuff like that. And be tired when I come in, and I definitely ain't getting on air what I look like when I come off that job. So right now it's just not a feasible thing. But I am here on Saturdays, and we'll be back on Fridays doing a political show at least every other week. We'll probably get back to weekly shows pretty soon, but at least every other week. And somebody asked me about Paranormal Talk. It's going to probably get moved to here because I'm going to probably sell the slot on Friday. I mean on Monday. I've had a couple offers, but if anybody's interested, there's an open slot on Monday 5 to 7. It's either 250 or 300 a month. You can write to me and find out if you're interested. But it's a good slot, and it used to be doing about 900,000 listens, but we haven't been using it for about 2 months now. But still, the shows around it still do pretty well. But again, on that note, good night and stay tuned for Mr. Putin's next session. No, good night, everybody.
Good night.